A normal day unfolds at the two neighboring schools, Kikido and Chidori, where our MC Rintaro stares at the prestigious all-girls academy next door, totally accepting that those elite NPCs avoid Chidori boys like an absolute plague. But one morning, his squad gets caught in a massive standoff with some rival school goons, and since nobody wants to back down or hold the L, things are about to go full rage mode until Rintaro casually steps up and completely diffuses the tension, literally sending them running for their lives with just a single death glare. He calls out his bros for aggroing randoms, but they immediately hit him with the Uno reverse, saying his terrifying aura started it, since those dudes were actually trash-talking him earlier. As they keep walking, Rintaro suddenly gets a flashback to why those guys recognized his scary face, remembering a crazy street event where a couple was beefing hard outside his house, ending with the girl dealing critical emotional damage with a slap before storming off. So our wholesome MC stepped in to check on the dude's HP. But the poor guy totally panicked, thought he was about to get obliterated, and speedrun his escape only to trip and self-destruct. Hearing this lore, his friends are completely unimpressed. Rintaro might be a total sweetheart, but with a face like that, most NPCs think he's about to trigger a PvP match. They path past two Kikyo girls who immediately avert their cameras to avoid aggro. One girl drops her handkerchief loot. Shohei, wanting to be the ultimate support, tries to return the item, but she hits him with a death stare, telling him to delete the item because she won't party up with trash. Despite the obvious toxicity, Shohei just brushes it off. He convinces himself she was just laggy because he's so op in the looks department. With that, the squad heads into their base, a low-tier building standing right next to the High-Res Kikyo Academy. Rintaro reflects on how massive the level gap between the two schools is. Every time they cross paths, the Kikyo girls treat the Chidori boys like they're carrying a virus. Chidori is an all-boys guild full of low INT players, ranked at the bottom of the server's reputation leaderboard. Kikyo's hate is so maxed out they even draw their curtains just to block the building's render distance. While checking his logs, Rintaro sees a notification for his side quest job, so he has to hit decline on his friend's invite. Later, the rain is pouring, but Rintaro sprints through the map to reach his family's cafe. He asks the manager, who's also his mother NPC, Kyoko, if he should even face customers since his face scares people off. But Kyoko reassures him it's fine, there's only one player in the shop he needs to handle. The rest of the guild is busy crafting pastries for a special event, leaving Rintaro in charge of the counter. As he sets up, he notices a wet umbrella item by the door. He pans his camera and spots a middle school-looking girl sitting alone in the corner. What really catches his attention is the insane amount of cake consumables she's downed. The empty plates stacked around her are enough to give anyone a status effect. She notices him staring, turns bright red, and accidentally triggers a choking debuff. Without thinking, Rintaro rushes over with a water item to save her. She gulps it down, but her self-conscious meter is redlining. Before he can even start a dialogue tree, she spams thanks and speedruns out of the shop. Left staring at her retreating figure, Rintaro thinks he just griefed her experience. Later that night, Kyoko mentions that the girl is Kyoruko, and she's actually a high-level regular at the hub. Rintaro's guilt stat rises, worried she'll stop logging in because of his face. Kyoko just dismisses the drama, insisting Kyoruko isn't the type to be scared off that easily. With max hype, she declares that cakes are the ultimate solution, and winning her back will be an easy quest. Next day, Rintaro is still bugged by what happened. During lunch, his brain is looping, trying to find where she might spawn so he can apologize. When his friends approach, he ghosts them and tells them to go ahead. As he paths away, Shohei wonders why Rintaro never opens his chat logs about what's really going on. After school, Rintaro is idling in his room when Kyoko bursts in with a server alert. Kyoruko is at the cafe and wants to initiate a conversation. He speed travels downstairs in his casual skin. There she is, waiting for him at the hub. Startled by the encounter, his awkwardness stat is clearly visible. Suddenly, she tells him she's going to treat him to a treat. Next thing he knows, he's sitting across from her with strawberry cake and a drink loot drop. He's puzzled but lets the cinematic play out. Kyoruko apparently came back to apologize for her sudden log-off. He tries to refuse the loot, but notices her camera is locked on the cake. Without a word, he slides the plate back, total pro support move. Despite her resistance, the cake's flavor profile is just too op to ignore. Watching her eat, he realizes her hunger stat is insane for such a small character model. Kaoruko explains she wasn't planning to binge all those cakes. She thought she was in a private instance and got caught mid-grind. She wasn't scared, she was just embarrassed to be seen like that. She admits she's been spectating him for a while and was always curious. Finally, Rintaro understands she didn't flee because he looked like a boss. She was nervous because he's the one player who makes her heart rate spike. He realizes that while most girls would hit the fear emote around him, Kaoruko's words were a total affection buff. The memory of the confession reloads and, wait, is the MC actually blushing? Confused by the sudden feels, he offers an escort quest to the station since it's late. Kaoruko accepts the party invite, surprised by the time. But after looting one more cake, she decides to solo queue the walk to the station. Except right as she's walking away, she spins around for one last critical hit, flashing a blindingly wholesome smile as she declares she literally never found him scary, not even for a second. She throws him a quick thank you and vanishes into the night like a stealth main, totally unaware that two rival school NPCs were spying on them the whole time with absolute malicious intent. Back at his base, Rintaro is huddled up staring at the floor, his brain totally short-circuiting, because Kaoruko's op-kindness is completely breaking his reality of how the world usually treats him, forcing him to flashback through years of toxic server chat and brutal comments from his past. But slicing right through that negative AoE is Kaoruko's soft voice, dealing massive emotional healing. For the first time in forever, our MC actually feels a genuine buff to his happiness, though the peace is immediately shattered when Kyoko speed breaches his room holding a very familiar item box. It turns out Kaoruko dropped her precious loot down the street, which instantly spikes Rintaro's anxiety meters into the red. He full sprints out the door, scanning the night map for any trace of her. Knowing the night cycle is full of hostile mobs and terrified, she walked right into a trap. Luckily, his perception stat is high, and he catches the sound of his own name. He finds Kaoruko cornered by two toxic mobs. They start interrogating her about why she's hanging out with a top-tier delinquent, so Rintaro activates stealth mode and crouches nearby to gather intel. Rintaro eavesdrops on their dialogue. He hears the NPCs feeding Kaoruko totally toxic rumors, labeling our MC as a menace to society, and claiming his aggro rep goes all the way back to the middle school arc. They're flaming his school, calling Chidori a hub for trolls, and his squad total bad news, landing massive critical hits on Rintaro's self-esteem. He knows his stats aren't perfect, and his school is low tier, but hearing them build this monstrous fake lore about him absolutely shatters his confidence, until Kaoruko suddenly claps back. She drops a truth bomb, calmly roasting them for judging a player's entire build based purely on server gossip, which totally revives Rintaro's spirit. She hits them with the facts, saying if they actually spent 5 minutes interacting with him, they'd realize he's nothing like his wanted poster. But these low-level mobs are totally locked into their hateful dialogue trees. Not wanting to debate NPCs, she firmly demands they at least stop spamming fake news about him, pointing out that judging a guy without even checking his stats is totally unfair. Enraged by her logic, one of the goons winds up his attack animation, ready to throw a physical strike. Seeing this, Rintaro literally cancels his stealth, full sends a dash across the alley and block tanks the gap between them. Kaoruko is completely stun-locked, as our op hero uses his own body as a meat shield to protect her, and after confirming her HP is totally full, he slowly turns his terrifying boss glare onto the attackers. The second they make eye contact, their morale completely shatters, and they instantly hit the eject button, fleeing the zone. Kaoruko rushes over, noticing Rintaro took some blade damage on his forehead. She's spamming apologies, thinking she caused his injury, but Rintaro explains the damage wasn't from a direct hit. He clipped the wall while playing tank to protect her, 0 serious HP loss. Then, completely out of nowhere, he claims the damage was basically self-inflicted punishment, his weird way of saying sorry. He admits he didn't fully trust her words, and now she's getting griefed just for associating with him. He executes a full deep bow emote, maxing out his regret stat. He's sorry for pulling her into this PvP mess, and for underrating her sincerity. Kaoruko tries to pull him out of his debuff state, but the guilt multiplier is just too heavy, because he feels like he punished her S-tier kindness by getting her cornered by random mobs. But instead of accepting the apology, Kaoruko gently wipes the HP leak from his head and drops an absolute tearjerker line, saying she genuinely doesn't get why anyone fears a guy with such an overpowered heart of gold. She completely rejects his apology. Instead of making it awkward, she just drops a wholesome thank you. Right there, the entire atmosphere of the show completely shifts, and Rintaro, who spent his whole life accepting his cursed outcast role, is instantly hit by the overwhelming warmth of her words. He literally never thought an NPC or player would ever look at him without fear. But after surviving years of toxic server hate, her smile feels like finding the ultimate safe zone. To guarantee no more random encounters, Rintaro properly escorts her to the station map, and once they reach the platform, he turns to log out and head back to base. But Kaoruko suddenly calls out his name. He spins around to see her smiling like a literal angel, casually dropping a co-op invite to eat cake together sometime. Completely stun-locked but feeling immensely blessed, Rintaro instantly accepts the quest, and they finally part ways for the night. As Rintaro treks home alone, Kaoruko waits for her fast-travel train, completely replaying his heroic save in her head. Cut to the next morning, and Rintaro speedruns his way to school way earlier than usual after pulling an all-nighter, because his CPU is completely overloaded with thoughts of Kaoruko. And as he stares out the window, theorizing when she might trigger the cafe event again, something totally unexpected happens. The curtains over at Kikyo Academy trigger a physics animation, and to Rintaro's absolute shock, Kaoruko is the one peeking through. For a split second, their cameras lock across the courtyard, and both of them totally freeze in panic before Rintaro violently yanks his curtains shut, completely baffled as to how she spawned in the rival building. He legitimately thought she was a low-level middle schooler, but as the realization hits that Kaoruko is an elite Kikyo student, he knows their entire dynamic just got a massive patch update. After that chaotic glimpse of Kaoruko through the window, the empty Chidori server starts filling up with students. Shohei starts complaining about how the Kikyo wafers keep spamming glare emotes at him. Normally he tanks the hate with zero issues, but today the aggro is off the charts, with literally every girl he passes shooting him massive disdain debuffs until he's completely tilted. Just then Saku and Ayato log in, dropping a cheerful good morning despite Shohei's massive mood debuff, and as they sync up, they reveal they also caught some serious strays from the Kikyo girls earlier. This leaves Shohei completely brain broken, questioning why anyone would cast aggro on someone as high tier and good looking as Saku. Saku brushes off the targeting, but admits he's always hated how the Kikyo faction treats them like absolute trash, totally convinced the two guilds are hard-coded to never ally. His words cause Rintaro to totally zone out, until his friends finally spot the HP damage on his head, snapping him back to reality right as Ayato questions why his curtains are permanently closed. Trying to cover for his bro, Shohei assumes Rintaro is just triggered from having to look at the Kikyo base first thing in the morning. But Rintaro immediately denies it with a super loud outburst. His random panic completely stuns the squad, forcing him to speedrun a terrible excuse for keeping the curtains drawn. While the rest of the party buys the lie, Saku's perception stats are too high, and he definitely senses something is off. Classes officially start, but Rintaro is basically AFK mentally, stuck in a thought loop about Kaoruko's shocked face when she spotted him in the classroom. A massive guilt debuff hits him as he replays the moment he aggressively slammed the curtains shut, knowing it must have looked insanely toxic, and he starts doom spiraling, wondering if she's permanently locked out of the cake shop now. He tries to cope by thinking it's actually for the best if she drops him, keeping her safe from his bad rep. When the school day finally ends, Shohei drops a co-op invite for karaoke, and after confirming his mom doesn't need him to grind at the cafe, Rintaro accepts the quest. The squad hypes each other up as they exit the building, already plotting their song tier lists and food buffs, but before they can even leave the spawn zone, they run into a massive crowd blocking the main gates. All the NPCs are whispering and stretching their necks to see what high-level event is happening outside. And since curiosity is a universal stat, the boys push through the mob to check out the commotion, only for Rintaro to take massive mental damage when he sees Kaoruko. She's literally camping right outside Chidori's gate, clearly waiting for a specific player to log out. Rintaro instantly recognizes her and tries to hit the abort button, spinning away to process this insane plot twist, but Shohei full sends it, charging ahead to interrogate Kaoruko on why a Kikyo elite is trespassing on their server. His high aggro voice actually makes her shrink back a little, but despite the sudden boss encounter, Kaoruko holds her ground and honestly admits she's waiting for someone. Rintaro finally snaps out of it, dashes forward and yanks Shohei back, apologizing for his teammates' aggressive dialogue tree. But then Shohei drops a massive plot twist of his own, literally tearing up as he admits he isn't mad, just incredibly salty. He's purely jealous that a low-tier player from their trash school actually managed to pull a top-tier girlfriend. Before things can escalate, Kaoruko's guildmates rush the scene, shoving through the crowd and physically body-checking Shohei as they try to extract her back to the Kikyo base. This rescue mission draws even more aggro as a mob of Kikyo girls gather at their own gate, viciously whispering about why Kaoruko would ever step foot in the toxic Chidori zone. Still tilted from getting shoved, Shohei steps up and demands an apology for taking physical damage, but one of the elite girls literally slaps his hand away with a critical hit glare before dragging Kaoruko back to their fortress. As she's pulled away, Kaoruko shoots Rintaro one last look, her eyes completely overflowing with worry. The school reset bell rings, and the party heads to the karaoke hub. Rintaro trails behind with distracted status. He wonders if she really spawned there just for him, then tries to dismiss it as a random encounter. His friends check his character model and panic. They tell him his scary face stat is redlining. Rintaro touches his face, realizing he might actually be rendering a happy expression. Taking massive embarrassment damage, he speedwalks to catch up. At karaoke, Rintaro is still zoning out while Shohei tries to max his singing skill, until Saku finally calls a timeout and asks if he's glitching out. Gato and Shohei instantly agree, pausing the music to point out that his vibes have been totally scuffed all day, and spawning in with physical head damage was a massive red flag. With the whole party waiting for his lore drop, Rintaro debates if he should actually reveal the Kaoruko questline, but his anxiety simulates how they'd overreact, so he chooses the deception dialogue option, flashing a fake smile and telling them his stats are fine. The squad doesn't probe his logs further, just telling him their party chat is always open for lore dumps. Rintaro grabs the mic, and right before the beat drops, he flashes Saku a genuine smile, confirming he's actually okay. So Saku drops the investigation and jumps right into the co-op performance. Later that night, as Rintaro is navigating back to base, he notices the cake shop is still glowing, even though it's way past the server reset time. Curious, he enters the shop, only to trigger a cutscene with Kaoruko, who hits him with a blindingly warm smile. She apologizes for the chaos at the spawn gate. She didn't expect the server-wide tension between schools. Rintaro totally stutters, speedrunning his own dialogue to insist she has absolutely nothing to apologize for. Before he can reply, his mother NPC enters and scolds him for making a VIP like Kaoruko wait. She offers some cake loot, and while Kaoruko tries to decline, her hunger bar audio cue betrays her. Kyoko bursts into a laugh emote, and Rintaro tries not to chuckle. Kaoruko turns bright red, but Rintaro initiates a share food quest with her. He watches her happily consuming the loot, clearly enjoying the sugar buffs. Her expression is totally chill, and for a second the vibes are elite. Between bites, she asks for a status report on Shohei. Rintaro confirms he's fine, 0 permanent damage from the earlier event. He finally asks why she camped out at Chidori's gate. She drops the truth, she was there just to find our MC. She apologizes for the drama, but Rintaro blurts out that he's actually happy she waited. Wait, did he just say that out loud? The dialogue slipped before he could hit cancel, and his face is now at max temperature. He tries to retract the statement, but she tells him his words were an S tier morale buff and she's saving them. They lock eyes and both hit the blush and avert gaze animations. Total awkward silence, status effect has been applied to the room. Rintaro admits he was worried she'd blacklist the shop after learning his school guild. He thought she'd want 0 contact with someone from his build. Surprise, she says she's actually glad he's from Chidori. She keeps the lore hidden for now. Instead, she logs off for the night, saying it's time to head to her own base. Before she paths away, she drops a soft smile and says she just wants to know him better. But right before she hits the exit, Rintaro spots a micro-expression on her face. Looks like a heavy regret debuff. He stays glued to the spot, watching her presence fade from the render distance. He looks at the leftover loot on the table and takes massive guilt damage, wondering if he botched a choice. Suddenly, Kyoko respawns into the room, realizing Kaoruko has already left the zone. And when she sees her son's HP bar looking completely depleted, she enters panic mode, having never seen him this devastated. Without interrogating him, she gently guides him back to the private quarters, where he finally unloads the entire lore dump of what just happened. She patiently listens to his rant, taps him gently on the shoulder, and then randomly executes a critical hit forehead flick, raging at him for letting a top-tier girl navigate the night map entirely alone. Still hopelessly confused by Kaoruko's final words, Rintaro vents his absolute frustration, while Kyoko just stares at him like he's a glitching NPC, totally bewildered at how she spawned such a dense protagonist. Kyoko tells him he's doing exactly what he hates, judging a player just by their guild tag. Kaoruko never once glitched when talking to him. She never looked down on his Chidori rank. She's only sent high-tier kindness buffs his way. When asked for his final take on Kaoruko, Rintaro remembers all the toxic chat from the past. He feels like a low-level player who doesn't deserve a party member like her. Then, totally unprompted, he straight up punches himself in the face, jump-scaring Kyoko as he leaks HP from his nose. As his mom NPC heals him up, Rintaro processes the data. The visual of her expression is still stuck in his cache. He finally realizes he dealt critical damage to her feelings. With a new resolve buff, he thanks his mom and vows to fix the glitch tomorrow. The next morning, Kaoruko spawns at her school gate at her usual early time, only to completely freeze when she sees Rintaro actively camping the Kikyo entrance. The second he spots her, he closes the distance and admits he was camping here specifically for her. Without dropping a single frame, he speedruns a massive apology for dealing emotional damage. And when Kaoruko looks totally lost, he explains that he caught her sad micro-expression right before she logged off last night. Taking massive embarrassment damage, Kaoruko drops into a crouch and hides her face in her hands, apologizing for accidentally showing a vulnerable animation and causing him to worry. Rintaro immediately drops to her level, gently trying to cancel her apology loop. And in that exact moment, his intelligence stat finally hits a breakthrough. He realizes Kaoruko has always given him 100% honest dialogue, so he owes her the exact same transparency, knowing he needs to explain his own complex lore so she doesn't carry any unnecessary guilt. He drops a massive confession, admitting that before she entered his lobby, he just accepted the hard-coded rivalry between their factions. But after discovering she was a Kikyo elite, hearing his Chidori guildmates trash-talk her school suddenly dealt massive splash damage to him, because he absolutely hated hearing toxic players badmouth her territory. But he finally admits it was a total misplay to care so much about guild tags. He drops another deep apology, this time for prioritizing server reputation over actually listening to her genuine feelings. And doubling down, he confirms that he wasn't lying yesterday. Knowing she waited for him genuinely gave him the biggest happiness buff ever. Totally stun-locked at first, Kaoruko's tense expression slowly melts away, and her blinding ops smile returns as she completely clears his negative karma. Standing back up, she initiates a formal reintroduction event, making him do the same, and boldly declares that their guild affiliations are literally irrelevant. The only objective that matters now is maxing out their social links and discovering each other's true stats. Since the school server hasn't fully populated yet, Kaoruko asks for a quick side quest favor. She proposes they both speedrun to their classrooms and trigger a secret waving event from their windows before any other players log in to ruin it. The moment Rintaro locks into his seat, he scans the opposite building just as Kaoruko dramatically yanks her curtain open, and her entire face just glows with pure joy as she aggressively dual-wield waves at him. Smiling like an absolute fool, he raises his own hand to complete the emote, watching her absolutely beam with pure, unadulterated happiness. Rintaro locks in a major decision. He wants to unlock more of this warm world she's showing him. So on a day when the server temperature is literally boiling, he and Shohei decide to infiltrate the staff room to steal some AC. But since the area is heavily restricted to NPCs, they need a solid dialogue option to get past the guards. So Shohei quick thinks a fake quest, claiming he's super invested in grinding for the upcoming sports day tournament. They hit a teacher with their excuse, only to get absolutely obliterated by the news that they are permanently banned from participating. Shohei is totally stun-locked and demands the lore behind this decision, and the teacher bluntly drops the stats. Their intelligence levels are so low they're guaranteed to fail midterms and get stuck in remedial purgatory. Shohei desperately tries to debate the claim since the exam grades haven't even dropped yet. So the teacher, clearly amused by their copium, offers them a massive side quest. If they can actually pass the retakes and secure a W during sports day, he'll personally gift them premium ice cream loot. Motivated by the sweet rewards, they head back to class, but reality quickly sets in. And Shohei, fully aware his study stats are literal garbage, instantly goes into a doom spiral. He begs Saku to carry him through the exams, but Saku hits him with a hard no. reminding him he already tried boosting them last season and they still got totally wiped. Gato checks on Rintaro, who honestly admits his own academic build is also completely scuffed, which makes Shohei aggressively point out that if Saku doesn't party up with them, he'll be totally solo during the sports day event. Saku completely ignores the emotional damage, casually stating he prefers the solo grind anyway. While zoning out from the chaos, Rintaro gets a ping from his mom, Kyoko, telling him to drop an invite to Kyoruko because the cafe is running a massive discount event. Looking out at the Kikyo stronghold, Rintaro suddenly realizes Kyoruko hasn't spawned at the shop in ages, so he drafts up a quick invite during class, and after battling his own anxiety stats, he finally hits send. But as the hours tick by, being left on read starts dealing massive mental damage, making him theorize that maybe the Kikyo server strictly bans phone usage during active hours. Eventually, she drops a reply, but it's a critical hit. She's maxed out on quests this month and can't make it. Rintaro is totally caught off guard by the massive disappointment debuff, realizing his hype levels to see her were actually through the roof. Trying to stay productive, Shohei drags him to the public library since their own school's facility lacks the AC buff, and they immediately start grinding their textbooks, but despite the effort, their intelligence stats just aren't high enough to process the lore. Rintaro suggests they just apologize to Saku to get him back in the party, and Shohei quietly admits he still carries a heavy guilt debuff for wasting Saku's tutoring efforts last year. Rintaro completely pivots, hyping up sports day and reminding Shohei how legendary it's going to be when the whole squad is feasting on that victory ice cream. Shohei processes this epic vision for a second before his motivation meter completely maxes out. He flashes a massive grin, declaring this sports day is going to be S tier specifically because Rintaro is in their party. And he full sprints back to the school map, absolutely determined to recruit Saku by any means necessary. While holding down the objective for his squad, Rintaro spots two random girls totally struggling to find an open study zone. And with his kindness stat passively active, he instantly gives up his seat without a single word. The girls are completely stunned by his op generosity, taking a minor guilt debuff because he despawned before they could even say thanks. As Rintaro navigates away, he pulls out his phone to update Shohei that he lost their base, but then he totally catches a familiar audio cue. His tracking skills lead him right to the source, and he's absolutely shocked to see Kyoruko actively carrying her friend through a study session. Watching from stealth mode, Rintaro finally pieces the lore together. She's been hardcore grinding for exams, which completely explains her absence from the cafe. He decides to camp the area for a bit, eavesdropping on her casual dialogue tree, and he gets massive wholesome damage from seeing her secretly doodling, realizing her relaxed, non-formal voice lines are an absolute game changer. But then he gets hit with a massive stat reveal. Kyoruko isn't just a regular student, she is literally the highest ranked player in her entire class. He quietly extracts from the area, completely mind-blown by how unbelievably op she is. She's dominating the leaderboards at an elite school, while he's basically a bottom-tier scrub, struggling to survive the Chidori server. A massive inferiority debuff hits him hard, making him feel like an absolute zero compared to her S-tier build. Totally defeated, he collapses onto a bench, his internal monologue telling him to just uninstall and accept his low-level fate. But right as he closes his eyes, Shohei's hype speech randomly echoes in his brain. And when he opens them, Kyoruko has literally spawned directly in front of him, staring curiously as she drops a greeting. He panic jolts upright and awkwardly fumbles his dialogue, accidentally exposing the fact that he was totally spying on her earlier. But Kyoruko takes 0 damage from the slip-up, calmly explaining she spotted his character model earlier and just wanted to verify his identity. She then pulls out a bento box, suggesting they trigger a shared meal cutscene. Rintaro immediately makes space on the bench, letting her enter his party. And as she equips her food, she drops an apology for missing the cafe events, promising to return once she farms enough gold from her side hustle. This totally breaks Rintaro's logic, since he completely assumed she had the rich family passive buff. Kyoruko literally laughs off the assumption, dropping the heavy lore that she's actually playing on a scholarship account, and she's totally broke, which is why she's forced to hardcore sweat every single term just to maintain her access to the Kikyo server. This revelation boosts Rintaro's respect meter for her into the stratosphere. She isn't just grinding, she's an absolute tryhard in the best way possible, even admitting she inflicts self-damage in class just to cure the sleep debuff because she's constantly pulling all-nighters. He's genuinely confused, why she's pushing her limits to such insane extremes. So Kyoruko explains that conquering the Kikyo server is her ultimate flex, especially since her dad totally tried to block her run because of the insane pay-to-win mechanics and elitist player base. Rintaro realizes his internal wiki on her was completely wrong, and massive guilt floods his system for making totally baseless assumptions about her backstory. Swallowing his pride, he decides to initiate a high-risk dialogue option, straight up asking if she'd be willing to co-op and tutor him. He openly admits he is completely done with catching LS, and for the first time, he legitimately wants to secure the W. He even drops his defenses, confessing that a failed state will lead to massive real-world consequences. Rintaro completely expects her to decline the quest, knowing her schedule is already maxed out, but she completely surprises him by sharing a rice ball and casually accepting the tutoring side quest. After the meal event ends, Kyoruko says she needs to regroup with her squad, totally unaware that one of her teammates, Subaru, has been actively monitoring their interaction. Subaru closes the distance, hitting Rintaro with a lethal glare and immediately demanding his player stats. Rintaro is totally mesmerized by her ultra-rare silver hair cosmetic, internally admitting her character design is absolutely top tier. But the second she hits him with her ice-cold intimidation aura, he gets completely stun-locked. She interrogates him on his Chidori guild status, and when he confirms it, she bluntly orders him to permanently delete Kyoruko from his friend list. Kyoruko desperately tries to de-escalate the PvP, but she gets interrupted as Shohei, Saku, and Ayato suddenly enter the arena. Instantly assuming the Kikyo players are launching toxic attacks on their bro, they aggressively challenge the girls. Subaru fires back with a massive verbal insult and tries to physically extract Kyoruko from the zone. But Shohei suddenly pauses his aggro, seemingly recognizing Kyoruko's character model, and steps into her personal space for a closer inspection. Without even thinking, Rintaro's protection passive activates, and he body blocks Shohei right as Subaru yanks Kyoruko away. Rintaro quickly drops an apology to his teammate, totally confused by his own auto-reaction, never expecting his physical stats to trigger an automated defense sequence. As Subaru drags Kyoruko toward the exit, Saku launches a devastating counterattack, loudly questioning the Kikyo server's intelligence since they couldn't even solve a basic puzzle earlier. Subaru whips around, her aggro maxed, asking if his trash talk includes Kyoruko. Saku just smirks and tells her to check the walkthrough herself, then trolls her silver skin. Kyoruko preps a comeback, but Rintaro plays tank and steps in. He explains he was the one who initiated the party invite because she was idling at the Chidori spawn. He just wanted to clear the scaring her glitch from earlier. Gato reminds Shohei about the accidental jump scare law. Realizing he botched the dialogue, Shohei offers a proper apology. He was having a low HP day, but admits he shouldn't have griefed her. Suddenly, Kyoruko drops a deep bow emote and apologizes for Kikyo's toxic behavior toward Chidori. The boys' mics go dead, they're stunned by her austere sincerity. She then gently elbows Subaru, forcefully initiating a co-op apology event. Subaru takes massive emotional damage, and while refusing to break eye contact with the floor, she completely skips the apology dialogue and speed walks out of the server. Kyoruko drops one final sorry to the squad before hitting dash to catch up with her teammate. The Chidori boys just stand there, their brains completely lagging from the chaotic random encounter. Yato finally breaks the silence with a laugh, pointing out that Saku totally dodged his own apology QuickTime event. Saku immediately defends his plays, claiming he only activated his attack buffs because Subaru launched the first strike. Shohei just laughs and brutally mocks Saku for actually pretending to care about the law. To reset the mood, Shohei pings the group to hit up a diner to farm some study XP. Meanwhile, Kyoruko tries to patch things up with Subaru, explaining that not all Chidori players have toxic builds, but Subaru refuses the logic, still immensely tilted that Kyoruko submitted an apology. Then, completely pivoting the dialogue tree, Subaru randomly demands intel on Rintaro. Kyoruko's blush meter spikes as she confesses that his kindness stats are totally op, and despite their rough intro, she genuinely believes his squad are top-tier allies. Subaru's dialogue completely flatlines as she spaces out, prompting Kyoruko to gently remind her they can't consume consumables in the library zone. Back at his personal spawn, Rintaro is violently reviewing his test answers, but even after Saku's intense diner tutorial, the knowledge XP just refuses to bind to his account. He unleashes a massive sigh and opens his grimoire again when his phone suddenly triggers an alert. It's a direct message from Kyoruko requesting a voice chat. He speed types an approval, only to take massive shock damage when the call connects instantly. He hits accept and Kyoruko's voice comes through, completely stripped of its usual buffs and sounding softer and higher than normal. It immediately causes his heart rate to critically spike. She apologizes for Subaru's toxic aggro, but swears her bestie is high-tier kind once you finish her friendship quest. Rintaro is idling in his base, telling her to stop overthinking the drama. She keeps dropping sorry emotes, especially for forcing him into tanking for her. Then, with a shy voice line, she admits she thought he looked like an cool character when he protected her. Rintaro takes 999 blush damage and almost fumbles his phone item. He's totally AFK in his own thoughts until Kuroko pings him to pull his aggro back. She sends a study session invite for Saturday and apologizes for switching to casual speech. Rintaro immediately counters, asking why she insists on keeping her formal settings locked on him anyway. Kyoruko claims it's because she's technically just an NPC customer at his family's shop, which deals some serious emotional chip damage to Rintaro. He totally assumed their bond level had at least reached the friend tier. Quest accepted, he agrees to the Saturday meetup, and after a brief internal struggle, he finally admits he wants to unlock all her hidden lore. He wants to experience her true stats and natural expressions, firmly requesting she disable the formal speech filter for good. Kyoruko goes completely radio silent for a second, but then, delivering a massive relief buff, she agrees to switch to casual dialogue for their next encounter. She hits him with a wholesome good night, and the connection terminates. Rintaro is just left lying there, completely stun-locked with his face buried in his hands, furiously calculating what kind of epic expression she was making during the call. Meanwhile, Kyoruko is taking equal amounts of joy damage, her face glowing absolute red as she logs off with a massive victory screen. Subaru is solo camping, staring at an old-school photo loot of her and Kyoruko, her expression totally unreadable like a blank NPC. When Saturday finally drops, Rintaro speedruns his morning routine, waking up super early for his highly anticipated co-op study session with Kyoruko. He grabs his phone, basically staring at their chat log like it's a legendary item, before finally hyping himself up enough to roll out of bed and equip his gear. During the train fast travel, his massive hitbox and resting boss face passively inflict the intimidation debuff on a few random girls nearby. But Rintaro is completely oblivious to the aggro because his CPU is maxed out stressing over this weekend event with Kyoruko, totally overthinking his dialogue options and wondering if his cosmetic skin looks way too stiff. He checks the window view. The sunlight rendering looks way softer today, giving him that classic new arc about to drop vibe. When he logs off the train, he realizes his speedrun strat got him there way too early. But as he paths up the station stairs, he spots Kuroko already camping the spawn point. He dashes over, spamming apologies for the wait, but Kuroko instantly switches to her formal dialogue tree, claiming she literally just spawned in. She catches the glitch and renders a nervous smile, realizing Rintaro is also using his formal dialogue settings. The lobby goes silent for a beat before Rintaro wonders if her cuteness stat just got a buff while she smiles at his awkwardness. They path to a nearby cafe where Kyoruko goes full DPS on her food loot, totally savoring every bite. She admits this location has been on her quest log for ages. Total aesthetic vibes for a study session, and the S-tier food loot is just a bonus. She tells Rintaro to start his consumption emotes, snapping him out of his daze. Jude was too busy spectating her joy stats, noting this is when her happiness meter maxes out. He finally loots a bite and shocker, it's actually op. Once the plates are cleared, Kyoruko preps her materials and triggers the study event. They're starting with the math dungeon, and Rintaro can call for backup on other subjects later. As Rintaro hits a difficult page, Kyoruko leans in to check the specs, but realizes their hitboxes are basically clipping. She executes a backstep, apologizing for breaching his personal space. Rintaro's focus stat is at 0 because his heart audio is booming in his ears. He's not processing any of the tutorial dialogue, while Kyoruko explains the formula meta. Finally, she asks why he's so determined to avoid a game over on these finals. Rintaro drops the real lore. He wants to party with the squad at the sports festival raid. Failing means being soft-locked in remedial classes while the whole server has fun. Kyoruko hits him with a wholesome smile, saying that's a legendary motivation. Rintaro almost takes choking damage when she mentions how much he must love his guildmates. He fumbles the dialogue, claiming the L word just caught him off guard. Kaoruko is chill about it. She stands her own friends too, calling them all top-tier players. Then she mentions Subaru. They've been in a permanent party since the childhood arc, but Subaru often pulls aggro. Her toxic-looking defense is actually from a bad encounter with some boys years ago. That's why Rintaro's lack of judgment gave her a massive respect buff. She drops a dazzling smile and apologizes for the filler talk. It's time to grind INT stats, not chat. Rintaro's face flushes red as a massive happiness buff completely overwrites his base stats. Sunset hits, they extract from the cafe, both hyped on their progress. Before the station, Kaoruko trades him some custom notes she crafted based on his specific weak stats. Rintaro checks the loot, feeling a guilt debuff that she spent her own midterm prep time carrying his playthrough. She just smiles, saying she wants him to clear the stage and reach the festival event. She forces a promise quest to hear about the festival later, then logs off to her train. Rintaro's motivation is maxed, but as he tries to enter the station, Subaru triggers a random encounter and grapples his hand for a 1v1 chat. He finds himself in a different cafe, wondering what kind of boss fight Subaru is prepping. She initiated the session but isn't dropping any dialogue, leaving him with an uncomfortable silence debuff. Finally, Subaru asks the million-dollar question, "Are you Kaoruko's boyfriend?" Rintaro whiffs his drink in shock, taking self-inflicted coffee damage. She trades him a handkerchief item, which he loots after a few frames. She's acting totally different from the library raid, total character model shift. He wonders if her hidden status for him is still hostile. Subaru does a proper intro as Kaoruko's classmate, high-rank Kikyo main. Rintaro remembers her name from the lore drop at the gates. He's glad she wasn't there for the first encounter, or that PvP would have been lethal. She reprocs her question, and he quickly hits the deny option, struggling to define their relationship since they haven't officially friended each other yet. After confirming they're still in the early game, she calmly tells him to stop the Kaoruko route. He tries to explain his build. Yeah, he's from Chidori, but he's not a generic NPC delinquent. Subaru cuts him off, admitting she knows he has decent stats based on his library performance. She drops an apology for her glitchy AI that day, explaining she panicked because her affinity with Chidori players, and guys in general, is super low. But her real concern is Kuroko getting caught co-oping with a Chidori main, since some Kikyo players and admins absolutely despise the Chidori guild. One screenshot of them together could permanently delete Kaoruko's scholarship loot. Nagi asks why she's so hyperfixated on Kaoruko, just as a kid NPC trips nearby. Subaru springs into action, carrying out a rescue quest and returning the kid's toy item. The kid is standing her silver hair, calling her amazing. She drops a wave emote, and the kid extract with his mother NPC. Subaru explains that Kaoruko was the first player to ever buff her with a hair compliment. Kaoruko basically saved her from toxic bullies in the kindergarten arc. Back then, her unique skin color made her a target for griefers. Kaoruko stepped in as the main tank and has been in her party ever since. Kaoruko is her hero, and Subaru is now dedicated to playing bodyguard 24/7. Her voice audio gets shaky. She says Nagi doesn't understand the grind Kaoruko put in to reach Kikyo. She knows her overprotective skill might nerf their friendship, but she'll take the hate debuff if it keeps Kaoruko safe. Subaru executes a deep bow, begging the MC to disconnect from Kaoruko for her own good. Rintaro is taking massive emotional damage. He remembers every trash label put on Chidori and the toxic server feud. But then he reloads Kaoruko's smile and her "I want to know you" dialogue. His resolve hardens. He's not dropping the Kaoruko questline. Subaru looks up, her expression shifting from anguish to calculated. She knew his loyalty stat was too high for her to win. She saw them earlier, and the synergy between him and Kaoruko looked top tier. Rintaro drops a sorry for the stress, leaves some gold on the table and extracts from the instance. Subaru stays locked in her seat, taking massive guilt damage and wondering what her next objective is. On the fast travel back home, Rintaro tries to grind exp with Kuroko's notes, but his focus meter is 0. He drops a heavy sigh emote, and the two NPCs next to him instantly tense up, thinking they pulled his aggro. He reviews Subaru's loyalty stats and quietly admits her dedication is actually top tier. Seeing her hardcore support for Kuroko makes him question if he even has anyone in his party he'd tank for like that. The train stops and two girls log in, scanning for an open slot. Rintaro stands and offers his spot to both of them without a word. The girls trade surprised looks and start whispering, They recognize his character model from the library event where he surrendered his table. They cautiously initiate dialogue to drop a thank you for the library assist. Rintaro's brain buffers for a second before he pulls up the memory file. He just stares, totally shocked they not only saved that data, but initiated a chat just to thank him for a low-level side quest he already forgot. After they spam more thanks and apologies for the interruption, Rintaro asks if they actually managed to farm any study points. They look a bit intimidated by his hardcore skin, but eventually nod and confirm the successful grind. A rare, wholesome smile animation plays on Rintaro's face as he says he's glad, then ends the interaction and walks off. The girls watch him path away, mind blown that he's actually a support class despite his intimidating boss-level aesthetics. Rintaro shifts to another train zone, running diagnostics on that whole exchange. He realizes the interaction was actually a pretty solid buff. He calculates how high their anxiety meters must have spiked to approach him, yet they push through just to deliver the gratitude dialogue. His logic tree immediately routes to Kuroko, remembering how she constantly spammed thank you emotes even for basic daily tasks. It finally clicks how a high-defense player like Subaru ended up partying with a max charisma player like Kuroko. Kuroko's passive warmth aura just naturally pulls players into her guild, exactly what happened to him. His thoughts loop back to Subaru's tearful main quest block. If he was honest, he couldn't deny his high affinity stats for Kuroko. He absolutely doesn't regret his choice, but a new anxiety debuff drops, making him question if it was actually the mathematically correct play. A few in-game days later, the midterm leaderboards drop at Chidori High. As the guildmaster reads off the final survival list, the lobby tension is maxed, with the entire server assuming Shohei and Rintaro completely wiped, until the teacher throws his hands up and declares they actually cleared the stage. The entire classroom instance absolutely explodes in victory emotes, with players throwing "did not fail" cosmetics on them and initiating a hilarious mock interview event. Shohei complains the study grind debuffed his vision stats, while Rintaro pauses before dropping a quiet, genuine happiness line. His voice line is so unbelievably pure that half the server starts taking emotional damage. Even the teacher fails his resolve check and starts full-on crying in the corner. Even the players who got game overed command them to absolutely dominate the sports festival in their honor. Right in the middle of the chaos, Shohei and Rintaro redirect all the MVP hype towards Saku for carrying them through the tutorial. Saku tries to cancel the praise animation out of sheer embarrassment, but the entire guild mobs him, spamming commendations until his blush meter absolutely shatters. Rintaro just chills in the MVP seat, staring at his passing grade while a massive happiness buff completely maxes out his HP. He instinctively pulls up his menu to fast message Kaoruko the good news, but suddenly cancels the action as Subaru's heavy warning flashes across his screen. Rintaro freezes mid-action, thumb hovering over the screen like his ping just spiked. Right on cue, Saku, currently fleeing from mob aggro, crashes hard into Rintaro's desk, wiping the setup. While Saku runs the cleanup animation, he spots Kuroko's legendary notebook completely exposed. A crucial lore note is stuck right to the page. Before Rintaro can cancel the action, Saku initiates an interrogation sequence about the note. Rintaro is completely stun-locked, realizing Saku just unlocked the Kuroko intel. The rest of the party swarms the area, and Ayato attempts to loot the notebook. Rintaro tries a desperate counter-grab, but Ayato's perception check succeeds, and he reads the name on the item. Flashback hits him. He connects the dots to Subaru dropping Kuroko's name back in the library zone. Saku starts poking holes in Rintaro's original alibi, suspecting his real motive was entirely different. The tension in the lobby spikes to maximum, pulling the aggro of the entire class, who are fully expecting a massive PvP brawl to trigger between the squad. Saku keeps digging while Rintaro is struggling to find the words. Should he reveal the truth about Kaoruko? In the end, he just hits them with the "I don't want to talk about it" line. Before things escalate, the teacher spawns in and tells them to clean up because class is starting. Shohei senses the bad vibes and drags Saku away before he loses it. Rintaro gives Gato a quiet apology, and luckily, Gato is a real one and forgives him. But Rintaro is still feeling like a villain for how things went down with Saku. Post-school, Rintaro speedruns home, hitting himself with mental debuffs for carelessly leaving the quest item unequipped. Reviewing the note Kuroko attached, he realizes he totally failed to trigger the thank you event. Meanwhile, Kuroko is grinding her studies when her UI pings with a new DM. She opens a text from Rintaro dropping major gratitude, he successfully cleared the exam boss and gives her full support credit. Her character model blushes, and she replies that he earned the W because he put in the raw grinding hours. She caps off the chat, telling him to enjoy the upcoming sports event arc. Rintaro reads the reply, but Subaru's high-level warning triggers again in his logs. He decides to leave her on read and shuts his screen off. Kaoruko sees the raid receipt and starts daydreaming about Rintaro being the MVP of the Chidori Sports Festival. The next day, Shohei and Ayato are stressed about the rift between Rintaro and Saku. Ever since the notebook leaked, the two have been straight-up ghosting each other. Ayato tells Shohei it's his turn to play peacemaker, since Rintaro was the one who helped them last time. Shohei steps up, nervous as heck, and tries to invite both of them to the batting cages to blow off some steam. But it's a total fail. Both Rintaro and Saku decline the invite. Shohei is worried the festival is going to be a disaster, but Ayato has that look in his eyes. He's determined to fix this. Later, our two leads are still walking different paths, keeping the silent treatment alive. On his way home, Saku gets ambushed by Ayato and Shohei. They want to talk, but Saku tries to brush them off like they're some low-level NPCs. Ayato isn't having it, though he keeps it 100% serious. Caught off guard by Ayato's sudden aggro shift, Saku checks his 6, but Ayato just mutters a complaint and paths forward, forcing the party to sprint to keep up. Ayato asks point blank if he's just mad because Rintaro is vibing with a Kikyo student. Saku scoffs, admitting that's not even the real problem. The real glitch, Rintaro doesn't seem to trust his own party members. This sudden law drop catches Ayato and Shohei completely off guard. They always saw Saku as the chill NPC who ignores drama, so seeing his tilt meter rise is a total shock. Saku's expression hits a new low as he stops pathing to explain the backstory. He reloads the early game archives, back when Rintaro thanked him for always playing tank and having his back. He remembers Rintaro's promise to always be his player too, and listen whenever he needed to vent. He thought they were equals, that Rintaro could rely on him for a carry too. Shohei processes this data, noting Rintaro is just genuinely too op at being kind. He makes you feel like you owe him a debt just for being a good guildmate. He notes that Rintaro probably doesn't even realize he's applying a left-out debuff to Saku right now. Ayato chimes in, pointing out that Rintaro didn't actually ghost them during the notebook glitch. He admitted there was a quest in progress, he just wasn't ready to drop the full dialogue yet. Ayato says that was the most honest the MC has ever been about his feelings, and that alone is a massive level up for the squad. It's the first time they've really data mined a piece of Rintaro's true stats. Ayato believes that once Rintaro clears his head, he'll open the private chat and explain everything. Even with the bug still active, Saku seems a bit more stable. To buff the group's mood, Shohei suggests a ramen side quest. Meanwhile, back at the family cake shop hub, Rintaro is grinding some cleaning dailies. His mom, Kyoko, spots his gloomy status effect and starts trolling. She jokingly asks if he failed a boss exam, but Rintaro deadpans that he actually cleared everything. She thinks he's being sarcastic until the truth finally renders. She looks at him like his character model just glitched out. She asks if he used a cheat code, and Rintaro is visibly tilted by the lack of faith in his INT stats. Just then, the door chime triggers, and a new player enters the shop. Kyoko greets the regular with a happy emote. Rintaro hears the name and hits the deck behind the counter, surprise meter maxed out. Kaoruko apologizes for the late-game spawn and asks if there's any cake loot left to buy. Rintaro tries to stay in stealth mode, while Kyoko runs through some casual small talk. Kaoruko admits she's here to loot a reward for crushing her midterm exams. Kyoko side-eyes Rintaro's hiding spot and tries to lure him out to join the party. Rintaro is frantically signaling for her to keep his location hidden from the server. Annoyed, Kyoko just grapples him and drags him out, revealing the MC to Kaoruko. She tells Kaoruko that Rintaro has been camping here all along, and he also passed his midterms. Kyoko orders him to take the order, slaps his back with a good luck buff, and extracts to the kitchen. Kaoruko steps up to order, but first, she raises her hands like she's waiting for a prompt. Rintaro is confused until she reveals a high-energy grin. It's time for a celebratory high five. Rintaro's smile starts to render, clearly buffed by her positive energy. But the vibe falters when Kaoruko mentions the high five is also for the upcoming Sports Day expansion. The Saku drama reloads in Rintaro's head, and his smile textures dim. Still, he doesn't want to apply a worry debuff to her, so he returns the high five with very low energy. Kaoruko detects the lack of enthusiasm, but chooses not to press the dialogue further. Rintaro shifts to packing mode for the cakes. He offers a walk-home escort quest, but Kaoruko hits decline, reminding him he's still on his shop duty shift. As she loots the box, she tells him to eat a lot if his morale is low. Rintaro blinks, completely taken aback by the situation. Kaoruko clumsily explains that for her, the eating skill has always been the best way to cleanse negative status effects. She fumbles her dialogue, trying to cite examples of food-based happiness. At the sight of her trying so earnestly, Rintaro finally chuckles. That chuckle turns into a full laugh. The heavy debuff has finally been lifted from his chest. Kaoruko is puzzled at first, but then joins in with a warm smile as the tension leaves his character model. Rintaro catches her gentle expression and freezes, surprised by a sudden warmth buff blooming in his chest. Kaoruko grabs her loot and promises to return soon for more sweets. Rintaro is just staring at the door long after she leaves. From the kitchen, Kyoko peeks out and sees her son lost in a romantic cutscene. Sensing the shift in his stats, she quietly backs off to give him some solo time. Rintaro finally lets his expression soften. For the first time in a while, his true feelings are rendering on screen. The Kaoruko buff is lingering, clearing the mental fog that had settled on him. He thinks about Subaru's stay away warning and realizes he almost believed that bad advice. But after seeing her smile like that, he can't hit the ignore button on her. Rintaro admits he can't stop the Kaoruko route now. He realizes she's S tier, and he's struggling to name this new love status effect. Meanwhile, Kaoruko is idling at the station, waiting for her train. Seeing Rintaro at the shop was a total RNG win. She just wanted cake but got a heart buff instead. Being able to see him was the legendary tier reward. She thinks back to his laugh, finding it cute and feeling like she cleared an MVP mission by triggering it. Her mind drifts to the high five. She's a bit worried about his low energy response. She checks her phone and reopens their last chat log about the sports festival. She wonders if she should have asked if his HP was low. Suddenly, her phone pings with a new message alert. Back at base, Rintaro's shop is closed for the day. He hits the kitchen where Kyoko is prepping a special dinner drop. He notices the loot looks way better than usual. One bite in and he realizes the flavor stats are through the roof. Kyoko finally admits this is a celebration since he managed to dodge that failing grade. She says since he's finally grinding his stats, he deserves some respect points. Rintaro deadpans that he actually got a 100 on one test, so Kyoko lands a forward flick combo. She checks the stats, shocked at his high-tier scores. She's genuinely happy, not just for the pass, but because he's finally putting in the effort to level up. She reloads the archives of him giving up too easily as a low-level kid. This attitude change is the real legendary loot for her. She notes he's still hiding some worry status icons, but she won't force the dialogue. She trusts him to handle it. She brings up how he fixed his relationship stats with Kaoruko before. She was worried at first, but seeing him hold himself accountable reminded her she raised a son who's a bit of a hero class inside. She leaves the table, telling Rintaro his only quest now is to stay happy. Elsewhere, Subaru is solo camping the old playground map from her childhood arc. She reloads the memory of Kaoruko playing bodyguard for her. Kaoruko spawns in and apologizes for the lag. Kaoruko pans the camera, recognizing the playground assets from their level 1 days. She prompts Subaru for the meeting details, knowing this isn't a standard school quest. Subaru admits this dialogue is too heavy for the school server. She takes a deep breath and drops the lore, "I talked to Rintaro." Subaru remembers crying fat tears when Kaoruko took massive fall damage off the monkey bars. But Kaoruko was all smiles, looking like her character model didn't even take a hit. She tried to cleanse Subaru's worry debuff, explaining her new obsession with hanging upside down, which just made Subaru cry harder. Subaru forced a promise quest on Kaoruko to stop doing dangerous stuff, and Kaoruko hit confirm, calling Subaru the kindest party member in the guild. Subaru's crying emote resets as she looks at another memory file nearby. A younger Kaoruko's character model is 4K clear in her mind. Cute, small, and purely wholesome, the ultimate waifu build. But Subaru knows beneath that skin, Kaoruko's strong and stubborn stats are maxed. She's the real hero of the story. She hugs the younger Kaoruko's ghost, wishing she could respect her own stats to be more like her. Back in the present, Subaru admits she interrogated Rintaro. She reveals she caught them at the cafe hub and waited for Kaoruko to log off before initiating a private chat with him. She tells Kaoruko she ordered him to disconnect from her and she's taking massive guilt damage for the toxic move. Kaoruko is stun-locked but reboots fast, which catches Subaru by surprise. Kaoruko explains she finally data-mined the Kikyo Chidori feud and realized her meddling was applying a stress debuff to Subaru. She knows Subaru was just playing tank for her sake. With a smile, she drops an apology for constantly keeping Subaru's stress levels maxed. Subaru is frozen. Why is the carry apologizing to the support? She looks at Kaoruko and realizes her own self-loathing stat is through the roof. Since the Rintaro confrontation, she's been terrified Kaoruko would find out about her toxic PvP. It caused her system to lag in school, even when Kaoruko was trying to pull her into a party. As the server days pass, she realizes Rintaro never leaked their dialogue logs. She prepared for a game over on their friendship, but it never came. She started feeling a relief buff, thinking she'd dodged the bullet. She continued her daily loop in a state of fake bliss. But the guilt debuff kept ticking until it nerfed her breathing. Unable to tank the pressure, she pinged Kaoruko to spawn here, finally ready to wipe the guilt by confessing her secret PvR player versus relationship move. She realizes she's been a selfish player and spams sorry to her bestie. In that frame, she understands she hasn't leveled up at all. Even with a new hair skin and trying to look like an op tank, she's still the same low-level kid who depends on Kaoruko to carry the guild. Subaru's despair gauge hits max as she sobs about always griefing Kaoruko's playthrough. Kaoruko hits the manual override, grabs her hands, and gives her a light wake-up slap to the cheeks. Vibing with a fond smile, she tells Subaru they should run a park minigame session just like the old days. Without hesitation, Kaoruko paths straight to the monkey bars and starts the hang animation. Subaru, with her crying textures still active, warns her to be careful, that uniform skin is high-res and shouldn't get dirty. Kaoruko just smirks while clearing the bars, reminding Subaru they used to play until their armor hit 0 durability. She asks if Subaru still has the monkey bar fail data saved in her RAM. Kaoruko admits the faceplant really hurt, but Subaru's dialogue gave her an instant morale buff. Apparently, in a panic, Subaru had tearfully begged the server to transfer all the pain debuffs to her hitbox instead. Subaru blushes at the cringe archives, but Kaoruko insists those words made her pain stats vanish instantly. Subaru rejects the kindness label, saying Kaoruko's build is the one that actually carries. She credits Kaoruko's own kindness for saving her from the darkness. Slightly tilted, Kaoruko buries her face into Subaru's chest and flames her for always nerfing her own value. She drops a love you buff and tells Subaru she needs to start grinding self-love too. She reminds her that back in the early game, after that fall, most NPCs would have just scolded her for being reckless, but Subaru shed actual tears, total proof that her empathy stats are maxed out. Kaoruko admits that knowing someone truly cared about her playthrough made her incredibly happy. Even in the current patch, having Subaru as a permanent party member is her favorite part of the game. She hugs her, hoping Subaru will one day see her own character in that same S-tier light. Heading for the slide, Kaoruko vows to keep spamming love and value reminders until Subaru finally clears the quest and believes it. Subaru watches her slide down, realizing Kaoruko is the most honest player on the server. Even as a level 1 kid, she never hesitated to speak her mind when she was tanking bullies. Meeting at the bottom of the slide, Subaru triggers an immediate hug grapple. She dumps the full dialogue log of what she told Rintaro and apologizes for running a solo mission. Now she wants to know Kaoruko's current objective. Returning the hug, Kaoruko apologizes, admitting she still wants to pursue the Rintaro route. This prompts Subaru to run a feelings check. Does she actually love the MC? Zero hesitation, Kaoruko confirms she's 100% serious about her romance stats. Subaru smirks at the confession and decides to leak Rintaro's response to her stay away command. When Kaoruko finds out Rintaro refused to stop seeing her, her eyes go wide as her joy stats spike. She renders a massive blush and buries her face in Subaru's arms. Subaru holds her close, quietly thinking she isn't ready to love her own character yet. But as long as she's in Kaoruko's party, she can live with that. She'll always be Kaoruko's one stan and promises to remain by her side for every raid. One day, she hopes to love the version of herself that Kaoruko sees. She's determined to grow stronger and stand beside Kaoruko with her head held high. They leave the park, happy they finally talked out the lag in their relationship. Kaoruko even trolls Subaru for crying, an emote she hasn't seen since the elementary patch. Suddenly, Kaoruko's phone triggers a notification. It's a DM from the MC, Rintaro. He wants to initiate a voice call for an important quest. Meanwhile, Rintaro is anxiously waiting for a ping back. Subaru's words are weighing on his RAM and he needs to speak with her. But he doesn't have her contact data, so he has to pass through Kyoruko to loot her number. He worries his text looks sus since he ghosted her previous messages. Then it clicks, Subaru probably wants this dialogue kept off the global server logs. He's overthinking the dialogue tree when Kyoruko suddenly calls him. Panic mode, he answers, but his social stats are totally not ready. He leads with an apology for the late reply. Kyoruko hits forgive instantly and asks for the quest details. Nervously, he says he needs to speak with Subaru on some important business. Even though he sounds super dodgy, Kyoruko reveals Subaru is right there and she can pass the mic. Before Rintaro can buffer, Subaru is on the line. Rintaro hears her greeting on the other end. He takes a breath, asking to continue the cafe dialogue because he's got some extra data. Subaru tells him they need a face-to-face and suggests meeting up after school tomorrow. Rintaro follows the coordinates to the park and finds Subaru waiting for him. He's worried about meeting while they're still in uniform, major risk. Subaru appreciates the consideration but says it's all good. Rintaro asks what it takes to get her blessing to keep seeing Kyoruko. Subaru says she isn't her mom and doesn't have the right to gatekeep her choices. He's flustered but explains that even with the server-wide hate between the schools, he still wants to see Kyoruko. He doesn't want to cause any drama, so he's been totally lost on what to do. He asks Subaru to help him see her without bringing any trouble, since she's the one who knows best. Subaru is in disbelief. He's asking her for help after she told him to stay away. She reminds him she was toxic to him, and she's surprised he isn't tilted. Rintaro says he isn't mad because he can see how much she cares for Kyoruko. He admits those insults strung, but he respects her grind for Kyoruko's happiness. He says he can't ignore a true friend like her and wants Subaru to be chill with them, because that's what matters to Kyoruko. Subaru finally locks eyes with him for the first time during the convo. She's low-key relieved Kyoruko fell for such a genuinely kind MC. At the same time, she feels like a clown for being so cold, since they both just want the best for Kyoruko. She chuckles and calls herself an idiot under her breath. She admits she already told Kyoruko everything from the cafe. Rintaro stiffens up, worried she leaked his deepest secrets. His face is glowing red thinking about Kyoruko's reaction. Subaru keeps it vague, but says they can keep meeting as long as they stay far away from the school territories. Before he can answer, a soccer ball slams into his stomach, dealing massive physical damage. A young kid NPC apologizes, then recognizes them as a duo. He remembers them as the pair who fixed his toy loot at the cafe. The kid grins, saying they must be high synergy friends since they're always in a party together. Both players remember the server feud, and Rintaro quickly tries to deregister their friend status. The kid isn't buying the bluff. If they're chatting like this, they're definitely guildmates. His squad calls him over and he paths away, ending the random encounter. Subaru admits friends is a stretch right now, but she hopes to unlock that status with him one day. He takes a step back, reminding her he's a Chidori player, enemy faction. Subaru stays chill, making Rintaro wonder if her AI updated. She just drops a gentle smile and says, "It's a secret MC." Rintaro is idling on his bed, checking the guild chat. It's totally dead lately. He realizes his recent solo grinding has applied a distance debuff between him and the boys. His UI lights up seeing a ping from Kyoruko, asking if he successfully triggered the Subaru meetup. When he confirms the clear, he also apologizes for keeping the cafe logs secret. Kyoruko pings back that she's happy Subaru finally knows they're a party. Sports day is loading at Chidori, so everyone is out grinding physical stats. Shohei is flaming Rintaro's glitchy behavior lately. He points out the MC is totally absent-minded. Rintaro is whiffing every baseball catch and even takes a hit to his hitbox during practice. Shohei grumbles that Rintaro is usually high STR, but currently his focus stat is 0. He notes Rintaro has been super fidgety in class instances too. Whenever they try to run a confrontation check, Rintaro dodges the dialogue and hides his status. But today, Shohei has maxed out his patience. It's 100% obvious the MC is hiding a massive secret. He pulls Ayato and Saku into a party, and soon they're tailing Rintaro on a stealth mission. While following from a safe distance to see what's bugging him, Shohei tells Saku it's time to apologize to the MC. They track him to the park, and their jaws drop seeing Rintaro meeting with Kyoruko and Subaru. The trio hits a restaurant where Rintaro apologizes for calling an emergency meeting. Kaoruko blabs that she's happy to see him, but then freezes when she realizes she leaked too much info. She renders a massive blush, remembering Subaru's tip that their feelings might be mutual. Trying to nerve her own attraction, she stammers not to overthink the dialogue. Subaru hits her with a disbelief face, silently judging how easy her romance stats are to read. The party is totally unaware Rintaro's squad is camping the next table, eavesdropping on everything. Shohei's jealousy gauge is redlining seeing Rintaro flirting with Kikyo Wafus, while Saku tells everyone to keep their audio low. He tells them to lock in. Rintaro is messing with Kikyo girls, including Subaru, who supposedly mains the Hate Boys faction. To Saku, this whole situation feels glitched and needs to be decrypted. They hit freeze when they hear Subaru's voice volume rise. Subaru cuts the filler and asks why Rintaro summoned them. Rintaro admits he's ready to tell his friends the truth about his Kaoruko ex-Subaru party. The boys in hiding go totally quiet to catch every bit of lore. Rintaro admits his intimidating character design makes it hard to farm friends. He'd accepted the solo life until he joined Chidori and his current squad welcomed him in. Thanks to them, he finally has a spawn point where he belongs after all this time. He tells the girls he stands their trust and protection meta. He wants a similar bond with his boys and refuses to hit abandon quest on their friendship. He's trusting his squad to keep this cross-school alliance a secret from the toxic school admins. He apologizes with a deep bow, knowing he could ruin their reputations if people find out they're associated with him. Surprise, both Wafus are hyped that he's trusting his guild with the truth. Subaru is buffed with gratitude that he considered her feelings before making a move. Kaoruko adds that if Rintaro trusts them, she's putting 100% of her faith in him too. Kaoruko says she's open to everyone becoming guildmates one day. That idea gives Subaru a worry debuff, but Rintaro gets a warmth buff. They grind the hangout until nightfall and Rintaro offers an escort quest to the station. Subaru lags behind, but suddenly blurts out that she wants an official intro to his squad someday. She wants to wipe the bad blood from the library arc and apologize properly. Rintaro smirks and promises to set up the party soon. Suddenly, a wild group of hostile players approaches for a confrontation. The blonde leader drops a fake apology for his juniors, leaving Rintaro in a confused status. Kaoruko spots two mobs stealthing behind a tree and signals our MC. Rintaro ids them instantly. It's the same trash mobs that tried to grief Kaoruko before. They ran to their high-level seniors and are back for a revenge raid. Rintaro tries to dodge the PvP with polite dialogue, but more mobs body block the path. The blonde leader accuses Rintaro of beating up juniors for zero reason, claiming he fits the bully archetype. Kaoruko jumps in to defend him, saying Rintaro isn't that kind of player. The guys notice Kaoruko and Subaru, calling them cute Kikyo girls like a bunch of creeps. Rintaro steps up as the main tank, blocking their line of sight. He tells the blonde leader to let the girls extract safely, and he'll stay for the 1vx confrontation. He glares with max intimidation, but the leader just smirks, demanding the girls stay for the after party. One guy tries to trigger a touch animation on Subaru, but Shohei suddenly spawns and grapples his arm. Saku and Hayato break stealth too. The boys order Rintaro to escort the girls away while they clear the trash mobs. Seeing his party members locked in for battle, Rintaro paths the girls out of the aggro zone. He shouts back a promise to finish the dialogue logs with his squad later. Saku bypasses the leader and goes straight for the cowards camping behind the trees. He roasts them for needing a full guild to take on a solo player. The mobs try a verbal counter, but Saku mocks their childish stats. It's pathetic for high-level players to act like noobs. One mob leaks that they were the ones who landed the previous head injury on Rintaro. That info triggers a berserk buff in Rintaro's friends. Now they know who caused his old trauma. Hayato drops his bag, his irritation meter hitting max capacity. Meanwhile, Rintaro successfully escorts Subaru and Kaoruko to the station hub. He apologizes for the chaos, but Kaoruko hits ignore, worried about the squad he left behind. Rintaro reassures her, his friends are op, and the other mobs should be the ones praying for a safe respawn. Suddenly, his phone triggers. It's Hayato calling into the lobby. Hayato sounds way too chill as he checks the group status. Rintaro wants to fast travel back, but Hayato says they're already heading home. They'll talk during the sports day event tomorrow. Rintaro hangs up and tells the girls the squad is fine, though they're still baffled by the speedrun victory. Elsewhere, Shohei looks over the defeated men and gives a nice DPS compliment to Hayato. Gato admits he's a pacifist main, but he'll use lethal force to defend his guildmates. One mob tries to reboot, but Gato shuts him down with a calm dialogue prompt. He tells them Rintaro is a legend, warns them to stop griefing, and wishes them a safe trip to the respawn point. With that, the trio extracts from the map, mission accomplished. Sports day hits. Rintaro's classmates are hyping him up for a home run play. But his focus stat is broken, and he takes an embarrassing strike out. The class is tilted, telling him to swap out and hit the bench until the next phase. Rintaro finds a cooldown spot to process his laggy emotions. He admits his concentration stat is 0 without a proper guild reconciliation. He's carrying a guilt debuff that's ruining his sports day playthrough. Suddenly, a wild water bottle loot appears flying at his face. He snatches it and sees the boys approaching with Max Chill vibes, trolling him about his terrible ping during the game. They drop a motivation buff, only 2 more wins until the ice cream reward triggers. Rintaro finally drops a thank you for the assist yesterday. The boys grin and ask for a status update on the Kyoruko and Subaru route. Shohei accidentally self-reports that they were running a spy mission on him. Rintaro finally connects the dots on their perfect intervention timing. He takes massive embarrassment, damage realizing they've been tailing his pathing since the restaurant. His face turns pure red before he can even type a reply. Shohei drags Ayato away to clear the room for the Saku x Rintaro 1v1 talk. Shockingly, Saku initiates the apology dialogue first. He's sorry for eavesdropping and for the toxic words he said before without checking Rintaro's internal stats. Rintaro tries to counter-apologize, and they get stuck in a no I'm sorry loop. Finally, Saku notes the real bug. Rintaro is always self-inflicting blame damage even when he's done nothing wrong. Saku tells him to listen up, this law only drops once. He admits Rintaro's dialogue from yesterday gave him a massive happiness buff. Saku confesses that the players he trusts most on this server are Shohei, Gato, and our MC. Rintaro reloads his earlier dialogue about standing the Kikyo Juice trust, realizing he's finally unlocked that same bond with his own party. When Saku begs him to trust the squad more, Rintaro's tear textures redline. He crouches down to hide his low morale animation from Saku. Shohei and Ayato are spectating from a distance, relieved that the guild synergy is finally back to 100%. Seeing the two together, they know the squad is ready for the next big raid. The party requeues for the baseball match. The class is stressed. If they don't score now, they'll miss the finals expansion. Hope is dropping because it's Rintaro's turn at bat, and he's been nerfed all day. But Saku drops a global shout, telling everyone the MC is about to pop off. He reminds the guild that Rintaro always carries when the stakes are maxed out. Pitch comes in, Rintaro swings and scores a critical hit. The ball hits the skybox, leaving the NPCs in pure amazement. Rintaro speed paths around the bases, basking in the sunlight and enjoying the high-res weather textures. By the time he hits home plate, the whole guild swarms him with hype, emotes and cheers. His party surrounds him, spamming compliments on his legendary comeback. For once, Rintaro lets himself enjoy the W, basking in the guild's praise. Meanwhile, a student NPC rushes to the teacher with some leaked screenshots. In one shot, Rintaro is surrounded by his squad and pure joy status effects, the perfect snapshot of a legendary youth arc. Post-festival, the squad hits an ice cream shop, using their own gold since Shohei's bad pitch nerfed the teacher treats reward. Shohei grumbles that without the free reward, the consumables just don't have that special buff. He's taking guilt damage, but the shopkeeper NPC notices and drops some free takoyaki loot to restore his morale. While the boys are chatting, Rintaro plays the quiet listener role. Suddenly, his notification audio pings. He checks the message, eyes wide, and asks the guild if they're down for a secret location meetup. He leads them to a park where Kyoruko and Subaru are already waiting. The Wafers initiate their intros, and the boys respond with their own character data. Kyoruko and Shohei hit it off immediately, swapping lore about Chidori's sports day and the baseball raid results. Rintaro is shook. They already look like they've been in the same party for years. Hayato notes the long-distance map choice, and Saku deduces it's a stealth play to avoid school admins. Kyoruko gathers the lobby for a global announcement. She checks with Subaru, then drops a deep bow to thank the boys for the heroic intervention against the gang. The boys try to downplay the W, but Kyoruko insists and trades them a bag maxed out with snack loot as a reward. The boys are instantly hit with a touched buff, especially Shohei, who is so moved by Kikyo's kindness he triggers a tear animation. He's ready to start the consumption quest, but Subaru stands up to address the squad. With a regretful expression, she apologizes for her toxic library PvP and admits she completely misjudged their character builds. She bows deeply, terrified that her reputation is too low to be forgiven. Silence hits the lobby, then Shohei admits his memory file of that insult has been completely deleted. The boys deadpan. Shohei literally almost started a fight over those specific words. Shohei drops a carefree smile, saying a delinquent class is used to taking verbal damage. Subaru is shook. She didn't realize Kikyo's toxic meta against Chidori was that constant. Saku follows up with his own apology for the awful dialogue he used without knowing her backstory. Subaru hits the forgive button instantly, acknowledging both players botched the encounter. Kyoruko and Rintaro exchange relief buffs, hyped that the first cross-school guild meeting is a massive success. As the boys troll Saku about his apology, Kyoruko whispers to Subaru that it's time for the legendary gift drop. Subaru summons a high-tier fancy bag, explaining it's a dual-purpose thank you and apology item. The boys loot some S-tier, TV-featured sweets and start raving about the stat boosts. They propose an immediate pastry raid and invite the wafers to party up. Kyoruko accepts, but Subaru hesitates, her Kikyo tag still making her feel like an outsider. Shohei dismisses the concern. Guild tags don't matter in this party. The boys drop the law. Rintaro already gave them the full report on how heroic and high quality the girls are. If the MC says they're S-tier, the guild believes it 100%. That's just the power of their friendship meta. Shohei trades Subaru a cookie from her own gift, telling her they should just accept each other's character designs and get along. Subaru is buffed with emotion, taking the item and officially joining the party. As the guild enjoys the loot, Subaru realizes her initial impressions of the Chidori guild were totally bugged. She's grateful for the chance to level up their friendship and clear her guilt meter. Sunset hits and the party preps to extract. Shohei pulls Subaru closer to discuss the sweets meta. He's definitely gonna bug the teacher NPC to buy more of this loot. Kyoruko and Rintaro naturally drift to the back, locking in some Duokyu dialogue. Kyoruko is hyped that Subaru has finally found a reliable second party. Rintaro decides to initiate a reward quest, asking Kyoruko what loot she wants as a thank you for the study carry. Kyoruko halts her animation and calmly drops a high-tier request. She wants to go on an aquarium raid together. Rintaro reloads the Shohei logs from earlier. His friend noted the MC is finally using genuine dialogue options. The thought makes him appreciate Kyoruko's presence in his life even more. Major affinity boost. On the train to meet her, Rintaro's nervous debuff is redlining. He tries to convince his AI that this isn't a date event, just a casual co-op outing. But the date dialogue from other couples on the train keeps triggering his heart rate monitor. When he exits the station, Kyoruko pings him. She just extracted from the same train. She drops a bright smile, saying she's been hyped for this aquarium raid ever since he hit accept. They enter the aquarium map, amazed by the high-res fish assets. Both admit it's been several seasonal patches since they last visited this zone. Rintaro reloads his elementary school data. Back then, he skipped the small mobs just to see the whale shark boss. He asks about the dolphin show expansion Kyoruko is eyeing, and she maxes out her excitement stat. She's only seen the dolphin mobs on TV. She's ready to see the real-time rendering. Since the event doesn't trigger until 3 p.m., she starts planning side quests for food and rides, worried about the session timer. Rintaro laughs at her eager status and assures her they've got plenty of time. Today is her dedicated VIP day. Kyoruko hits him with a max-tier smile, and they keep clearing the aquarium map, hitting all the displays and even running the amusement ride minigames. They eventually hit a rest area for some hot dog loot, vibing with the aquarium-themed tables that are literally filled with fish mobs. While they're restoring their hunger bars, Kyoruko asks our MC about his sports day raid. Rintaro locks his camera onto her and dumps the Chidori lore, maintaining that elite, easy conversation buff until the main show triggers. Before the main event, Rintaro goes AFK for a bathroom break, leaving Kyoruko to camp on a nearby bench. She scrolls through their shared gallery, her face rendering a soft smile at all the memories. Today has been an absolute S-tier playthrough, and now she has the digital loot to prove it. Meanwhile, Rintaro is in the restroom, splashing water on his face textures to nerve his racing heart. Kyoruko's cute stat is so up today that every glance deals critical damage to his composure. He runs a logic check on whether she's actually enjoying the co-op, but her constant smile emote confirms the win. A sudden warmth buff spreads through his character model, leaving him confused until he realizes the Dolphin Show expansion is about to load. When he spawns back out, he finds Kaoruko with a mini NPC clutching her side. Kaoruko explains she spotted the girl in lost status and decided to initiate a help quest. Turns out the kid is on a search mission for her parent NPCs. Kaoruko drops her intro, and the kid takes minor fear damage when she notices Rintaro's scary skin. Rintaro executes a crouch move to match her hitbox and drops his username with 0 intimidation. Kaoruko asks for the last known coordinates of her parents. Hearing it was the Shark Zone, she paths out to start the search. She assigns Rintaro to guard the girl, whose name is Mika, just in case her parents circle back to their spawn. As Kaoruko clears the area, Mika grapples Rintaro's shirt. He reassures her they'll camp together, suggesting a sit and relax emote. Her leg stamina is low, so she accepts the party invite and sits. Mika drops an apology, feeling like a griefer for ruining what she assumes is Rintaro and Kaoruko's date event. Our MC stammers, frantically trying to claim it's not a date, but Mika keeps the dialogue going about how dates are elite. She leaks her own crush lore about Daiki from her kindergarten server. With a 10-10 smile, she gushes about his high-tier sports stats and his big appetite passive. Rintaro's system hits a total freeze. That warmth buff from earlier reloads, and suddenly his Kaoruko root feelings finally make sense. Before he can data mine his own heart, Kaoruko spawns back in with 2 adult NPCs in tow. Mika ids them as her parents instantly, popping sprint to trigger the relief hug animation. Kaoruko explains she intercepted them while they were spamming Mika's name in the local chat. The parents drop a thank you buff on our duo, apologizing for the accidental side quest they caused. Rintaro plays it cool, saying the conversation with Mika was high-quality content. Kaoruko is standing his kindness as they bid the family farewell. But before they exit, Mika dashes back and prompts Rintaro to crouch again. She whispers a mischievous line, shipping the two as a top-tier couple. Rintaro's face turns pure crimson. Before he can input a response, Mika scampers back to her guild. Kaoruko thinks the raid is over since the show ended, but Rintaro asks for an extension to catch the legendary evening performance. Kaoruko is 100% down for the extra content. Soon, the server final show begins. The lobby fills up, and they claim their seats as the announcer NPC welcomes the crowd. The lights hit 0, the ambient noise drops, and a single spotlight locks onto the water map. Suddenly, a dolphin mob hits a high jump greeting with a splash emote, followed by the rest of the pack. The dolphins chainlink breathtaking tricks, making the audience spam gasp and cheer audio. Our MC and Kaoruko are in total awe of the Hi-Re's performance. Kaoruko admits her happiness bar is maxed now that she's seeing this live. She turns to Rintaro and drops a heartfelt thank you for the party invite. She says she never expected a reward drop for her help, just being in his party was loot enough. But with a voice-softening buff, she admits this co-op day was legendary and she loved every frame. Rintaro spectates her bright smile before looking back at the show, but his RAM is replaying her smiles from the entire day. Mika's crush dialogue loops in his head, and suddenly the fog clears. For the first time in the playthrough, Rintaro fully data mines his love for Kaoruko. One rainy morning, Rintaro is pathing to school, unintentionally applying a scared debuff to every random NPC he passes. By the time he hits the classroom, his squad is already there, flaming the dreary weather environmental effects. The door hitbox triggers, and Rintaro idles in the frame before entering. The lobby notices the MC has arrived. He trudges to his seat, equipped with a heavy posture debuff. The squad detects something is majorly bugged with him. They tell him his scary face texture is even more intense than usual. Rintaro is fidgeting, especially when they point out he's still rocking the winter uniform skin despite the server switching to summer attire. Gato drops a random line about Kikyo wafers switching to summer gear too. That dialogue makes Rintaro stiffen, and he fumbles his book items. The party exchanges worried emotes. They know a troubled arc is loading. Gato and Shohei want to force a dialogue tree, but Saku tells them to wait for the MC to reveal the quest on his own. They decide to stick to casual filler chat to lower the room tension. Meanwhile, Rintaro is in deep thought while looting his dropped notes. Ever since the aquarium raid, Kaoruko has been permanently pinned to his mind. He gazes at the Kikyo building window, trying to render the curtains behind Kaoruko's desk. He wonders if she's grinding her INT stats or chatting with her guild. Realizing his focus has completely drifted, he hides under his desk to clear his RAM. But her character model keeps reappearing in his head. He realizes his love stat for Kaoruko is at 100%. He literally can't stop stanning her. Shohei snaps him back to the main server by calling his name. His friends ask for a party invite to his home base, since they've never seen his spawn point. The request triggers a long dialogue buffer, making the party feel uneasy. They quickly offer to cancel the quest if it's too much. Rintaro remembers the early game toxicity when he was bullied for his family's cake shop hub. NPCs said it didn't fit his delinquent build. Because of that, he's always hidden his home life lore. But looking at his squad, he knows they aren't toxic players. Right as Shohei offers his own map instead, Rintaro hits accept and says he'll check with the parent NPCs. The squad is buffed with hype for the weekend event. When the day arrives, they finally enter his family's pastry shop hub. Instead of trolling, they're standing the shop's elite aesthetic. Their eyes widen at the colorful dessert loot and the fresh baked aroma buff. Rintaro's awkward meter finally starts dropping. He takes a minor guilt debuff for assuming his squad would judge his hub location. Just then, his mother NPC enters, greeting the boys with her usual max energy. Rintaro is amazed. The boys are responding with equal hype, like they've been guildmates for years. Saku even trades some food to Kyoko, who promises to drop a massive lunch buff for the party. She tells Rintaro to start the house tour side quest. He obeys, leading the squad to the living quarters. While they explore the map, Kyoko hits the kitchen to alert the staff she's going AFK. The staff notices her cheerful status, and she admits it's because Rintaro finally brought a party home. Before she can continue, a new customer alert triggers at the front. She paths over and sees a very familiar character model. Meanwhile, the boys are data mining the living room daycare. They loot an old photo of level 1 Rintaro with his big brother NPC. Rintaro stays at the back, internally logging how weird it is to finally have friends on this map. Suddenly, Kyoko spams his name. Rintaro hits the stairs and takes critical shock damage. Kaoruko and Subaru are standing there. Kaoruko is in high morale mode, while Subaru is still rocking her nervous debuff. Kyoko explains they just came for cake loot, but since the whole party is here, she sent a lunch invite to the wafers too. Yato hits agree instantly, while Shohei prompts them to enter the zone, getting a scolding from Saku for acting like the guild master. The lobby settles, and Kyoko drops a thank you buff on Subaru for being in Rintaro's party. Kaoruko apologizes for the random encounter, but Rintaro reassures her it's a valid playthrough. When she smiles, his system reloads the aquarium cutscene. A furious blush status effect has been applied to the MC. Kyoko sees her son's honest expression and equips a knowing smile. She extracts to the kitchen map to prep the lunch consumables. The boys start the prep helper mini-game, filling the base with high-volume chat audio. Kaoruko pings Subaru for a gear check, worried her casual skin is weird and her hair stats aren't special enough for Rintaro's home instant. Subaru buffs her with a cute as always compliment, which gives Kaoruko a minor irritation debuff. Rintaro keeps snapping his camera to Kaoruko, internally hyped she's finally in his base. To drop the awkwardness, he uses a light hit move on Saku. Lunch is finally served, an absolute S-tier spread across 2 tables. The party starts the consumption quest, while Rintaro notices Kyoko is maxing out her hostess stats for his friends. She paths out to check the shop inventory, reminding everyone the seconds loot is unlimited. Rintaro gets a grateful buff seeing the party vibes are so high. Mid-meal, Shohei unlocks a dialogue about why Rintaro dyed his hair skin and pierced his ear hitboxes. Rintaro admits he spec'd into this look back in 7th grade. The guild is hyped for the origin story. He stammers that the lore is actually pretty lame. But when Kaoruko joins the prompt, he shyly confesses he just thought it was the cool meta. He says it might sound like a low-tier reason, but it was a big deal when he had a zero friends status in school. He reloads the file of the day he decided to reskin his avatar. Parent NPCs brought him to a cake shop quest. The hub was legendary, and at first, he didn't care since his own family guild has the same theme. But that first bite of cake loot hit different. He panned his camera around, noticing the elite hub design, until he locked onto the kitchen asset. Inside was a baker NPC with blonde hair and a piercing cosmetic. Rintaro thought the character design looked genuine and happy. He wanted that build, so he started by copying the skin. On the way home, he ran a permission check for the dye and piercings, expecting a hard no from the shopkeeper NPCs. He took critical shock damage when they hit accept without even buffering. For the first time he felt seen, and his feels meter hit max capacity. Changing his skin only made other NPCs avoid him more, but he'd already hit the unsubscribe button on caring what they thought. He gets so lost in the lore dump that he doesn't notice the whole squad is spectating him. Realizing he's been oversharing, he quickly apologizes for nerfing the vibe. But Shohei is a real one, saying the kids at his old school had low perception stats because he would have recruited Rintaro into his party years ago. Shohei heads for a second round of loot, and Kyoruko follows. Before she paths to the kitchen, she tells Rintaro she's hyped to be friends with an S-tier kind soul like him. Rintaro is in total stunlock until she asks if he's ready for a refill quest. He shyly hits confirm, and Kyoruko paths out to grab his next share of consumables. The party keeps vibing, totally unaware that Mom NPC Kyoko intercepted the whole chat. Hidden from the render distance, she's fighting back tears, replaying the day she decided to reskin with blonde hair and piercings. The dad NPC saw right through her, knowing she was doing a total motherly support build for Rintaro. She told him she couldn't forget how broken the MC looked, and since that day she's been dedicated to his happiness. The color only rendered back into his playthrough after that cake shop event, so when Rintaro sent the character customization request, she couldn't hit decline. It was literally the first time Rintaro had ever requested a custom item for himself. She knew he was afraid of scaring off the customers, so she did a lead by example move to show him skin type doesn't nerf service quality. The dad hoped Rintaro would realize her sacrifice, but Kyoko says the only legendary loot she wants is for someone to finally accept her son without judgment. Seeing him laugh with the squad right now feels like she just cleared the final boss. She finally spawns into the room, dropping a wide assortment of high-tier cake loot. Shohei and Kyoruko's hype stats redline, and Kyoko hands the items to Shohei to store in the fridge inventory for later. As she paths back, Rintaro triggers a thank you dialogue without explanation, leaving her shook. He drops the line and rejoins the party, while her tier textures start loading again. She equips her work cap and buffs her own morale before heading back to the grind. Later, the squad is camping the TV, eating cake and running a gaming minigame. Kyoruko is popping off after scoring a W against Saku, trolling him for his poor performance. Shohei spams the flex emote after catching a W against Saku, totally roasting his low score. Hayato drops a reality check, reminding them they were basically just PvPing to avoid the bottom of the leaderboard. Rintaro is surprised she's a gamer, and when she drops a legendary smile, his face CPU starts overheating. Rintaro is shocked she secured the 2 rank, and when she replies with a high-tier smile, his internal temperature stats overheat. Once the MC confirms his schedule is open, Shohei starts theory crafting the ultimate summer roadmap. They decide a beach trip with fireworks loot is the play, and they invite the Kikyo duo to party up. Kyoruko is hyped and Subaru hits accept too, but then remembers the exam boss is coming before the break. The boys hit a total freeze frame, remembering the massive level check standing between them and summer fun. Subaru apologizes for the vibe check, while Shohei looks at Saku with puppy dog eyes. Saku goes pale, refusing to carry them through a tutor quest despite Shohei's begging. Saku's HP drops just thinking about it, instantly denying the carry request, while Shohei spams the beg emote for tutoring. As promised, the guild reassembles at a restaurant map for the study grind. Sticking to the quest line, the party groups up again, this time shifting to the restaurant map for a study grind. While the girls browse the item shop, Hayato and Saku run a scan and realize Rintaro and Kyoruko's affinity levels are getting insanely high. Post-meal, they prep for the INT grind, but Shohei's stamina bar hits 0 and he enters sleep status immediately. Rintaro explains he was trying to solo grind the night before, talk about a tragic noob move. Kyoruko initiates a reward incentive play, talking desserts to bait Shohei's focus back. She sets a clear condition for the session, reach the goal and everyone loots some high-tier sweets. Shohei reboots instantly. The party notes they look like a mother and child support duo. Kyoruko then tries to initiate a co-op session with Rintaro. Rintaro appreciates the carry but hits decline, wanting to solo the early stages first. The boys leak that Rintaro has been grinding math during lunch breaks lately. Embarrassed, he admits he doesn't want to over-rely on her, but promises to call for support if he hits a wall. Kyoruko gives him a proud smile. MC's character development is looking solid. As the grind starts, Shohei is shocked by Subaru's high-level workbook. It's way chunkier than the Chidori gear. He flexes his flimsy, beginner-level books to show the stat difference. Subaru realizes the Chidori meta is basically her early game middle school curriculum. Rintaro gets stuck and pings Kyoruko, but ends up just spectating her character model instead of the math. He whiffs the explanation, so Kyoruko resets the tutorial and explains it from step 1. Subaru hits a roadblock on her quest, but seeing Kyoruko locked in a co-op session with Rintaro, she decides to delay the prompt. Shohei offers a carry, but his INT stat is too low. He's completely lost. He goes to unequip the workbook, but Saku intercepts, deciding to run diagnostics on the problem Subaru is stuck on. Subaru is amazed, but Saku's explanation is basically non-existent. Subaru's respect stat spikes, and she asks for the walkthrough, but Saku just drops vague lore hints instead of the actual solution. Saku is shook. He didn't know his communication stats were that bottom tier. The party gives him the awkward silence emote. Saku tries to force the explanation on the girls, but they're both taking confusion damage from his logic. Saku is hit with critical embarrassment, knowing he can't teach players who are already high INT. He preps to log out, but the guild bribes him back into the party with dessert loot. Next cycle, the boys gather to check the global leaderboard for their exam scores. Major W, both Shohei and Rintaro pass the finals raid once again. Securing a massive relief buff, Shohei and Rintaro officially clear the exam arc without a game over. Classmate NPCs are tilted that the delinquent duo aren't joining the supplement class guild and beg for the meta strat. Shohei smirks, revealing they had a high-tier, talented teacher carrying them this patch. NPCs rush Saku's desk, thinking he's the main support. Saku is tilted by the attention, but the teacher NPC spawns and orders the class to settle down. He drops a global announcement. Exams are cleared and the summer break expansion is about to load. The class trolls the teacher for having zero worry stats about them. He admits his class is a bunch of goofy mobs, but their alignment is genuinely good. He prompts the lobby, what are everyone's summer co-op plans? Players start spamming their activity logs, until a concerned NPC asks about the homework side quests. Teacher drops a legendary line, youth is just as important as INT stats. He says summer is for farming core memories, and tells them to go for the full life achievement. The class cheers, except for the players who failed the exam check and have to grind remedial school. Post-school, a group of classmates invites the Rintaro squad to a fun minigame event. No one has a strat, so they make the MC pick the activity. Rintaro pings the bowling alley map, perfect for a high player count raid. Walking to the zone, Rintaro realizes his relationship with the class just hit a massive high point since the sports fest. He used to be a solo quit main, but now he's actually enjoying the server. He's actually motivated to grind for a better future, and he knows Kyoruko was the one who buffed his outlook. Suddenly, a classmate pings some Kikko wafers across the street. It's Kyoruko and Subaru. Rintaro locks his camera on them instantly. Shohei is about to break stealth and call out, but Saku and Hayato hit him with a manual override. They can't link up publicly, or the girls will take massive rep damage at Kikko. NPC classmates recognize Kyoruko as the girl who camped their gate once. The boys manage to spoof the dialogue, so the NPCs don't detect the truth. But Shohei catches the MC staring and snaps him out of the crush animation. He hangs back and whispers, "Are you and Kyoruko in a relationship route yet?" Rintaro's face turns pure red as he hit the deny button, but his stuttering logic is a dead giveaway. Shohei says he's being way too obvious. Literally every party member knows. Yato and Saku pretend they aren't intercepting the dialogue, but Rintaro realizes his stealth is 0-100. He panics thinking Kyoruko might have also data mined his feelings. Shohei says he's the surprise planner, king, and he's got his back. Saku drags the loudmouth away, and Ayato pings Rintaro with one final line, "Your secret is safe with the guild MC." Bowling time, Shohei and Saku's team is spamming hype emotes after a strike. Saku steps up and lands another strike, total op gameplay. Saku is genuinely confused why everyone is hyped since they're on the same party. Shohei roasts him, calling him a video game noob to clear the awkwardness. Now it's Rintaro's turn, but he's rocking a slouch emote that worries the team. He whiffs his gear check, saying he picked the wrong ball and his fingers are glitching. He finally throws, but it's a straight gutter roll. Rintaro enters defeated posture on the floor. The opposing team is spamming toxic emotes over their early lead. His guildmates start flaming back, and Rintaro uses the chaos to fast travel to the vending machine zone. He's brooding over his trash tier play, especially since the losers have to pay for the lunch loot. He wonders why everyone thinks he's dating Kyoruko. He admits he hasn't even unlocked the dating mechanics yet. To him, just spectating her smile is a legendary tier reward. Hayato spawns in and taps his shoulder, snapping his focus. Rintaro moves aside, realizing Hayato is here for a soda consumable too. He apologizes for being a scrub at bowling, but Hayato says it's all chill. Hayato says the real fault lies with Shohei for leaking the Kyoruko feelings data in the first place. Rintaro takes critical choke damage and whiffs his drink. Hayato tells him to nerf the panic. Shohei was just trolling, and the squad's affinity for him is still 100%. He drops an apology for throwing the dialogue earlier, but Hayato hits him with a reassure buff. Hayato redirects the aggro, claiming Shohei is the one who completely leaked Rintaro's romance route with Kuroko in the first place. The sudden lore drop hits Rintaro with a stun, causing him to choke on his consumable. Hayato tells him to drop the tension, confirming Shohei is just a casual and that the rest of the guild's approval rating is completely fine. Sweating, Rintaro opens a new dialogue tree, asking Hayato for his meta on what dating actually means. Hayato pauses, then cheerfully admits he has 0 experience points in that department, instantly clearing Rintaro's anxiety. He's a total noob at romance, so he's got no clue about the dating mechanics, but he warns Rintaro, don't ask the other classmates or they'll launch a full-scale interrogation raid on him. Plus, let's be real, none of those guys have ever cleared a date quest anyway. Switching to serious mode, Hayato explains that while most people start dating after a like check, it can go way deeper than that. In his book, it's totally fine to party up even if you don't fully understand the dating expansion pack yet. Hayato notes that the real plot twist here is Rintaro actually asking for advice for the first time in the series. Rintaro hesitantly asks if his feelings are really that obvious to the lobby. Hayato confirms it but says he's hyped because Rintaro is finally opening up his private chat logs to the squad. He recalls how Rintaro shared his origin story about the hair and piercings, a clear sign he finally trusts the guild and sees them as high-tier friends. Rintaro locks in and confirms the trust, but immediately apologizes, worried he sounded like an arrogant MC. Hayato just laughs off the aggro, telling him it's all chill. He tells him not to overthink the Kyoruko situation. Whatever route he chooses, he's got a permanent ally in the guild. Rintaro is hit with the feels and drops a sincere thank you. Suddenly, teammates call them back. It's Rintaro's turn to bowl and their team score is tanking. They return to see Shohei celebrating another strike like he's an op pro. Rintaro is impressed, but Hayato's tone goes cold. He's determined to win because Shohei has been griefing them all day. He wants to see Shohei hit a fail state, arguing it's total karma for how much his antics nerfed Rintaro's concentration. Rintaro smirks and hits the accept button on the challenge. Later that night, the squad chat is popping off. Shohei is desperately begging Hayato to cancel the bet and spare his gold. Hayato just pings back that he's hyped for tomorrow's free lunch loot. Rintaro stares at his screen, remembering how Hayato stunned the lobby by landing enough strikes to secure the W. The memory brings a rare smile to our MC's face. Today was a top-tier session. Just then, a new notification audio triggers. It's Shohei again, asking for everyone's summer event plans. Rintaro's mind instantly paths to Kyoruko, but he resets his focus, remembering Shohei meant the whole party is hitting the summer grind together. Still, he can't stop thinking about how Kyoruko played support for everyone during the exam arc. He wonders if launching a solo quest just for her would be too weird. He exits the chat and sees a surprise DM from Subaru. He's so shook he literally drops his phone on his face. Critical hit. The message leaks the intel. Kyoruko's birthday is coming up, but she's too shy to drop the announcement herself. During the next class session, Rintaro is totally AFK mentally. He's theory crafting the ultimate birthday gift for Kyoruko. Ever since Subaru leaked the data, the question has been consuming his CPU. He knows she stands cake, but he realizes he hasn't data mined much else about her life. He's always wanted more lore, but now that he's aware of his feelings, that desire is maxed out. The teacher NPC cuts the daydream short, ordering him to read and to wake up Shohei, who's currently in sleep mode. As he nudges Shohei back online, Rintaro is still looping the birthday quest. Later that night, he asks Kyoko if she knows any S-tier cake shops on the map. Kyoko takes minor offense, like he's saying her guild's pastries aren't meta enough. Rintaro clarifies he wants something unique for Kyoruko's birthday event. She's already a regular at their shop, so he wants a gift that isn't just standard inventory. Kyoko is surprised the MC is this invested in Kyoruko's birthday route. Instead of another shop, She suggests he respec into the baker class and craft it himself. The idea hits Rintaro like a flashbang. He claims his cooking skill is level 0, but Kyoko says he can ask the guild master, his dad Kikaro, for a carry. Rintaro hesitates, knowing Kikaro is always in the kitchen grinding high-level orders. Right on cue, a loud audio cue triggers from the stairs. They see Kikaro hit a total stamina fail and collapse on the steps. They quickly move the exhausted NPC to the couch. Rintaro worries that he can't possibly burden his dad with a learn-to-bake quest right now. But Kyoko explains Kikaro overclocks himself on purpose. He's a total cake nerd who loves the kitchen grind. She reveals Kikaro was the one who baked the treats for Rintaro's friends. He was hyped to do it, but too drained to meet the party. Kikaro finally reboots, dropping a good morning dialogue even though the server time says it's nearly night. Kyoko runs a status check and asks if he's ready to consume some food loot. Rintaro is torn between worry and his upcoming birthday quest. Then he remembers how happy Kikaro was just knowing people enjoyed his craft. Gathering his courage stat, Rintaro asks his dad for a tutorial on how to bake. Kikaro scans his son's face before responding. He doesn't ask for the recipe meta, he asks what feelings Rintaro wants to embed into this custom item. Rintaro admits he's still decrypting what he wants to say. But with Kaoruko pinned to his mind, he tells Kikaro, "I just want her to be happy." Kikaro smirks, that's the correct dialogue choice. Learning the deadline is 2 weeks away, Kikaro triggers a special training arc that will last until the birthday event. He warns him, since the guild master is teaching, he expects nothing less than a legendary grade cake. Kyoko is buffed with relief, seeing Rintaro finally connecting with his dad. She watches the two-path to the kitchen map to begin the grind. And so Rintaro's baker training expansion begins. Late-night sessions studying recipes and theory crafting the perfect build for Kaoruko. The grind is exhausting, but his cooking stats are rising frame by frame. At school, the squad notices he's rocking a permanent fatigue debuff. But despite looking like a zombie, his determination stat is through the roof. They worry he'll hit a fail state in PE class, since his HP bar looks critical. Rintaro reveals he's been pulling all-nighters in the baking dungeon. The squad's hype meter redlines, they all want to loot his practice cakes. Exhausted, he hits them with a reject emote. His craft isn't ready for a taste test yet. He paths to the sink to wash his face, but his focus stat is so low he takes minor head damage from the doorframe. Meanwhile, in Kaoruko's class, her friends are planning a birthday celebration raid for the first day of summer break. Subaru is hyped for her bestie, but remembers the MC is running a secret side quest. She uses a persuasion check to move the class event to the following day, claiming she's got a conflicting schedule and wants in on the fun. Kaoruko hits accept and drops a thank you buff on her classmates. The girls swarm her with hugging emotes, leaving our waifu flustered but wholesome. That evening, Rintaro checks his logs and sees Subaru's confirmation. Kaoruko's schedule is clear on the 22nd. He panics, he never actually ran an invitation check with Kaoruko himself. He frantically pings her, asking if she's free to hang on the 22nd, playing it cool by not mentioning the birthday tag. Kaoruko pings back instantly. Her excitement stat is so high her message is a buggy mess of typos, but she hits confirm. Rintaro buffs himself with a relief emote. The quest is a go. He's locked in, determined to hit a perfect rank on the cake by the end of this training arc. Kaoruko rereads his DM, her heart rate hitting red when Rintaro says he's got a gift for her. She tries to gaslight herself into thinking it's not a birthday thing, since she shouldn't have leaked that info. Then she realizes Subaru definitely played wingman and leaked the data. She pings Subaru, asking if Rintaro intercepted her comms. Quest confirmed, Subaru definitely fed him the intel. She tries to play the mad emote, but Subaru knows her happiness bar is actually at 100%. Subaru tells her she loves hearing her MC interaction, reports and demands a full data dump after the birthday event. Hanging up, Kaoruko collapses on her bed, total hype, status for her birthday raid with Rintaro. Birthday day, Rintaro reboots early to start the final boss, cake prep. He crafts the batter under Kikaro's strict QA testing, then moves to the hard icing deco phase. He clears the slicing and fruit-filling mini-games, then applies the final icing skin for the aesthetic finish. Rintaro and Kyoko wait for the guild master's final verdict. Kikaro hits approve, it passes the pro standard. Rintaro celebrates while Kyoko preps the box inventory item. Before extracting, Rintaro drops one last thank you buff on his dad. Once the MC is gone, Kyoko checks the finished loot. Kikiro admits he's buffed to see Rintaro's smile animation finally becoming permanent lately. Later, Rintaro paths to the meeting point, checking his inventory. He's second-guessing if a handmade cake is too high tier for a friendship quest. He arrived early to run a mental warm-up, but Kaoruko has already spawned at the waypoint. He approaches and Kaoruko is shocked. They both have the early arrival passive. He drops the happy birthday dialogue and initiates a trade with the bag. Kaoruko accepts the loot, her joy stat spiking to max. She wants to inspect the item, but Rintaro says to wait until she's at base so the cake asset doesn't glitch. The cake prompt makes her excitement redline. She scans for a sit interaction and remembers the nearby park map. She leads him there, noting it's her favorite zone, where she and Subaru grinded playtime as kids. Kaoruko admits she always wanted to invite Rintaro to this instance to share some fond memory buffs. They claim a bench asset, and she carefully unboxes the clear box loot. Inside is a high-grade, delicate cake with custom cookie and icing cosmetics. She's instantly charmed, noting this item isn't in her family's current shop catalog. She wonders if it's an unreleased flavor from the devs. Shy mode active. Rintaro reveals it's not from the shop, he crafted it himself. He solo grinded the recipe so she could have a server-exclusive experience. He wanted to max out the effort stat to show how much he appreciates her carry. Kaoruko's warmth stat hits critical levels at his honesty. She asks to call him later to give a full review. She already knows the flavor meta is gonna be top tier. They part ways. Rintaro is buffed with satisfaction for making her smile. Quest status accomplished. Kaoruko hits her base and finds her family NPCs are still offline. She tries to wait for a full party, but the temptation to consume the loot is too high. She grabs some screenshots of the aesthetic before cutting a slice. First bite reloads Rintaro's shy expression from earlier. With a soft smile, she logs the final verdict. Handmade cakes are definitely the new meta. Later that cycle, Rintaro is AFK in the living room, half-rendering a comedy stream, but his expression shows a massive debuff. His parents, Kyoko and Kikiro, are spectating with concern. They know he's waiting for the review results. Suddenly his phone pings. Rintaro pops sprint to his room, leaving his parents laughing at how easy his character model is to read. In his room, he sees a DM from Kaoruko asking to initiate a voice call. He pings back a yes, but his nervous debuff is through the roof. The call triggers almost instantly. Her cheerful audio confirms the W. She absolutely loved the cake. Rintaro drops a heavy sigh of relief and hits the floor hitbox. Weeks of baker training finally paid off. Kaoruko spams positive reviews, claiming the item's flavor profile gave her an instant comfort buff and restored her emotional HP in a single bite. She reveals the whole family guild shared the loot, and it was a total hit. Her brother NPC was a total ninja and ate half, so she's low on supplies now. Rintaro chuckles and promises more handmade cake loot in the next patch. Kaoruko is officially his one fan, and she's hyped for the future content. They swap good night emotes and log off. Back in the common area, Rintaro reports the success to the guild masters. Kyoko clears her stress meter and Kikiro smirks. His direct training always yields legendary results. Rintaro announces his summer event. He's gonna grind at the shop to max out his baking skill before the next gift quest. Kikiro goes hard mode, warning that the daily grind at the shop will be a strict training arc. Kyoko lands a forehead flick, telling the old man to nerf the intensity. She buffs Rintaro with a have fun spell, saying he can help out whenever he's not out with his squad. But our MC is locked in. He wants to assist every single day he's not on a party quest. Kikiro asks for the feedback data, hoping to use Rintaro's experimental build as a base for a new shop recipe. Kyoko is just happy the MC finally has such an elite support system. Meanwhile, the squad chat is exploding with the summer break expansion roadmap. Mission start, Rintaro and the squad finally hit the beach map. Shohei hits the jump interaction right off the train, eager to breathe in the ocean aesthetic. Saku and Hayato troll his high energy, while Rintaro admits he pulled an all-nighter out of pure hype to spend time with Kaoruko. The guild follows Shohei as he searches for fireworks loot, while Subaru plays stealth and trails at the back. They hit the town and the food vendors pull immediate aggro on Shohei and Kaoruko. Fireworks quest forgotten. The party follows the food-first meta, knowing Shohei's hunger bar is always critical. They park at a sandwich stall, where the duo encourages everyone to data mine the best loot. Gato and Shohei notice Subaru is being a quiet NPC, so they try to pull her into the party and help her pick some consumables. Subaru's social anxiety is high, so she asks the boys to just RNG pick for her. They accept, but Kaoruko is running a concerned check on her bestie. After looting her sandwiches, Kaoruko pings Subaru, suggesting they run a share food co-op. Subaru clears her stress debuff and hits accept. Meanwhile, Rintaro and Saku head out on a drink fetch quest. On the way, Saku asks for an update on the cake shop training arc. Rintaro admits he's actually vibing with the baker class and wants to grind it during his free server time. Saku suggests he should sell his handmade loot at the next school festival event. They pass past a donut stall and Saku's character model slows down. Rintaro catches the hint and suggests looting one, knowing Saku stands donuts. Before Saku can hit confirm, Shohei spawns in and starts trolling him for his sweet tooth. Saku tries to play it cool, claiming they already have a full inventory of sandwiches, but the party sees right through his bluff. Gato tells him to just use the honest dialogue, no one's gonna flame him. But Saku points out Shohei's smug grin emote, complaining about the constant teasing. Kaoruko joins the chat, hyped to find a donut guildmate, and leaks that Subaru is also a fan. Shohei offers to buy loot for Subaru, but she panic declines, her face textures turning red. The party moves on to the drink and fireworks waypoint. Subaru is still lagging behind, her camera locked on the donut shop. She wants that loot badly, but her INT stats won't let her say it out loud. Saku turns around and catches her eye. He's definitely noted that interest. They finally reach the beach map, and Shohei pops sprint into the water, taking critical cold damage. The rest of the squad follows, testing the wave physics with their feet. Rintaro is shook by the water temp, while Kaoruko vibes next to him, enjoying the high-res sand textures. Subaru stays at the shore, her social battery a bit low. She loves spectating her friends, having a good time in this new hub. She wants to join the lobby, but she's afraid she'll accidental grief the fun if she gets too involved. Kaoruko tries to pull her into the party, but detects Subaru's troubled status effect. They settle down to consume their sandwich loot. Shohei finishes his share in record time and heads back for more water physics. Kaoruko stays back to finish the meal with Subaru while the boys run the splash minigame. It's a wholesome spectator moment as the wafers watch the boys play. Kaoruko initiates a private chat, asking what's bugging her. Subaru realizes Kaoruko's insight skill is too high to hide from. She admits she's got some troubles and requests a favor quest. A few frames later, Kaoruko grapples Subaru's hand and leads her to the boys. Subaru summons her courage and starts a group announcement. She calls them all out by username, her voice audio a bit shaky but determined. She admits she was hyped for the trip, but was carrying a heavy heart debuff. She drops the law, she's got an uncomfortable around men status effect. Shohei preps a sorry emote, but Subaru isn't done with her speech. She reveals a past event that caused her to avoid all boy class players for years. But partying with Rintaro and the squad has started to cleanse that fear. Even so, her AI still sometimes auto-triggers a retreat when things get too rowdy. She apologizes for the glitch, but vows she wants to enjoy this summer event 100%. She remembers her chat with Kaoruko, how having fun with the squad is the real meta. Looking at them, she finally wants a piece of that joy. She tells Rintaro she wants to be part of the friend list right here, right now, no more waiting for a future patch. Suddenly Saku uses a water splash attack, critical shock to the system. Subaru thinks she pulled aggro, but Saku clarifies he wouldn't be in this party if he didn't already consider her a close ally. Shohei asks Saku to simplify the dialogue. His INT is too low to understand the Tsundia talk. Saku repeats the law. Subaru is officially a guildmate. Shohei grins, confirming the status update. She's always been one of the homies. Gato and Rintaro ping the same agree emote. Rintaro even trolls her, saying she's even more uptight than he is. Kaoruko sees the opening and playfully shoves Subaru into the water zone. Subaru whiffs the balance check and trips, but manages a hands-first landing. The guild rushes to check her HP, worried about a wipe. But Subaru triggers a laugh audio, she's totally fine. Kaoruko helps her up, and the squad is finally 100% synced. Suddenly, they look at the horizon and see the sunset cinematic loading. The graphics are stunning, everyone is in pure awe. Shohei decides it's time to start the fireworks raid. While the party preps the items, Saku hears a hunger audio cue from Subaru. He loots some donuts from his bag and trades them to her, noting she barely consumed any lunch loot. He lets her eat in peace and rejoins the fireworks grind. Subaru realizes she's still learning the group social mechanics, but she's definitely making progress toward fit-in status. Kaoruko calls her over. It's time to light the fuse. She steps forward and her heavy heart debuff is officially gone. The squad plays with the fireworks and everyone's smile emote is maxed out. Subaru is finally living her best, carefree life. The finale fountain is too short for Shohei, total letdown for our DPS main. He wants to re-raid the store for more loot, but the squad thinks the session was enough. Kaoruko offers sparklers, but Shohei wants the epic grade explosives. Subaru chimes in for more. Looks like the waifu is a pyro main now. They head into town for more loot. Rintaro and Kaoruko stay back to guard the party's inventory. MC notes the zone is super quiet now that the high-volume players are gone. Kaoruko suggests they light the last sparklers while the squad is on their fetch quest. They lock in the interaction and hold the glowing items. The lighting engine looks beautiful in the dark. Kaoruko feels bad that these sparkler assets get ignored when the big firework meta is active. They sit in wholesome silence until Kaoruko thanks him for carrying Subaru through her emotional arc. She's buffed with relief, knowing Rintaro's guild has Subaru's back. Rintaro is shook that Subaru shared her private logs at all. Kaoruko says it's a server first. Subaru usually never shares feelings with male characters, but meeting the Chidori guild has allowed her to reboot her personality. Kaoruko points out that the real catalyst for this change was Rintaro. But since joining Rintaro's lobby, she's actually lowered her guard and unlocked the smile animation way more often. Kuroko drops the timeline intel, noting the patch notes started updating right after Rintaro and Subaru initiated their first dialogue. As Kuroko dumps the gratitude, Rintaro just stares, his brain running at max capacity to process her words. He totally misses his sparkler item burning out until Kuroko steps in and equips him with a fresh one. Accepting the trade, Rintaro's imposter syndrome kicks in. He feels he hasn't earned this much XP. He genuinely thinks his support plays were just standard. The deep lore is, the only reason his support stats were high enough to carry Subaru and level up his guild bonds was because of Kuroko. She literally buffed his self-esteem, making him believe he could spec into a good alignment. He drops a low volume, thank you, making Kuroko's character model blink in confusion. Then, upping his resolve meter, he increases his volume, needing her to fully register his gratitude stat. Kuroko instantly recenters her camera to hide her blushing skin texture, but quietly returns the thank you, logging that today's run was top-tier fun. Rintaro confirms the high entertainment value of the event. Internally, he's screenshotting the entire moment. He checks their current affinity levels and tags every frame with Kuroko as a legendary drop. A dialogue option slips past his filter. He accidentally leaks that he doesn't want the server to shut down on them tonight. Kuroko's animation completely freezes before her model snaps to face him. Rintaro realizes his mic was hot and panics, spamming the abort mission dialogue. But instead of throwing aggro, Kuroko lights him another sparkler and smoothly drops a prompt for their next co-op quest, since the summer event just dropped. Kuroko hypes up the upcoming DLC, throwing out invites for the barbecue minigame and the main summer festival. She admits getting the event ended screen feels like a debuff, but it just means they need to queue up more quests to grind. While she's theory crafting their future runs, Rintaro is just locked onto her god-tier smile animation. His auto-dialogue kicks in, and he flat-out drops the I like you line. The realization hits him like a critical strike, and he scrambles to cancel the prompt, but Kuroko has already logged the input. Both their models turn completely red, and the dialogue tree is entirely broken after the massive lore drop. Suddenly, Shohei breaks their stealth from behind, and they instantly jump out of each other's hitboxes. Shohei pings their flushed face textures, and Rintaro frantically blames the heat from the sparkler loot. Shohei accepts the logic and flexes the new fireworks they bought to keep the fun grind going. Subaru notices Kaoruko is still in a total stun lock and calls her over. Kaoruko reboots, clears her inventory, and regroups with the party. As the fireworks light up the skybox, Rintaro and Kaoruko are both mentally AFK, thinking about that confession. The beach event timer finally hits 0, and the squad fast travels back to their save points. On the path back, Rintaro flames himself for dropping that sudden confession while his social skill was still on cooldown. He promised himself he'd never leak his feelings, and yet, Truck-kun couldn't have hit him harder than that slip-up. But strangely, his relief stat is rising now that the truth is on the server. He resolves to play support and not grief her, vowing to fix the relationship meta. Meanwhile, Kaoruko and Subaru are pathing home together. Subaru detects Kaoruko's disoriented status and tries to initiate a check. Suddenly, Kaoruko's phone triggers a ringtone, and she panics seeing Rintaro's ID on the screen. Summer festival event. Rintaro is idling nervously as a mob of NPCs passes him by. Slowly, Kaoruko renders, softly calling out for the MC. When Rintaro takes in her festival skin, he realizes this cutscene is going to be pinned in his memory forever. They queued for this together because of a late-night call after the beach trip. That night, Rintaro finally gathered his courage to send an invite. It took a few buffer rings, but Kaoruko eventually hit accept. They started with polite dialogue, but Rintaro soon reloaded the confession data he'd leaked earlier. He apologized for the sudden dialogue prompt and asked to discuss the route properly. Kaoruko processed the request and suggested the summer festival map. She really wanted a duo session with him. Now face to face, Rintaro is struggling with his speech check, unsure if it's time for the real talk expansion. Detecting his low morale, Kaoruko suggests they loot some food stalls first. They hit the candy fruit vendor, each consuming their own sugar buff. He pings a gently ask action, and Kaoruko replies with a max rank bright smile. He spots some candy on her cheek texture and chuckles as she fails her brush-off skill in a panic. She hits him with a pout emote, but soon they're both spamming the laugh animation. Kaoruko pings a group of NPCs with shaved ice loot. When she flashes him another radiant smile, he realizes he's a total simp for her and could never hit unsubscribe from this view. After looting the shaved ice, Rintaro takes critical brain freeze damage. They keep wandering, farming takoyaki and crushing every minigame at the stalls. At the shooting range booth, Rintaro hits a strike and wins a bunny plush item for her. During the escort mission, they both log that their hunger meters are completely overfilled, prompting Kuroko to suggest a quick AFK break. Rintaro is about to reject the rest prompt, but his perception check reveals her movement speed is dropping, meaning she's likely taking stamina damage. He hits accept on the rest period so Kaoruko can recover her foot stamina. They loot some soda consumables and claim a bench asset. He runs a status check on her feet. Kaoruko starts a cheerful dialogue, but halts when she sees how intensely he's spectating her. The air gets heavy with unspoken lore, total cutscene vibes. Rintaro realizes he's buffed with pure happiness because she cleared her schedule for him. He knows he owes her a proper confession quest to move things forward. He pings her name and waits for her to face his camera. Maxing out his courage stat, he targets her and initiates the romance route, repeating the prompt just to bypass any lag. He admits he originally thought a friendship playthrough was enough, just to spectate her smile from the sidelines. Plus, there was the Kikko Chidori PvP drama and the fear of nerfing her scholarship status. But during the beach trip, he realized their limited-time event would eventually end, just like a firework item's duration. That loneliness debuff forced his hand. He had to hit the confession trigger. He knows his greed stat is rising, but he can't hold back the main quest any longer. He wants to duo queue with her permanently, and if that means the couple status, he's all in. Locking eyes again, Rintaro admits he always wants to be in her party. Heart monitor redlining, he asks if they can officially start going out. There's a long dialogue buffer, and Rintaro panics, starting an I'm sorry loop for being a selfish MC. Kaoruko interrupts his glitch, saying he isn't selfish at all. Instead, she asks if he remembers their very first meeting. Instantly, Rintaro reloads the memory of her stuffing her face with cake in his family's hub. But Kaoruko reveals that was actually a later patch. They met way before that event. She admits that during their real first encounter, Rintaro totally saved her playthrough. The real reason she kept visiting the hub was for HIM. The cakes were just legendary bonus loot. Kaoruko triggers the flashback cutscene. Freezing winter evening, last seasonal patch. She'd unequipped her winter gear and was on a long, low-stamina path through the cold, desperate for a base. RNG pulled her toward Rintaro's family pastry shop hub. She'd been unable to enjoy sweets for a long grind, but that night, the shop looked like a sanctuary. She ordered cake loot, and that first bite applied a warmth buff to her whole system. It was her first time tasting high-quality content in a long time. Overcome with feels, she started a quiet cry emote at the table. Rintaro, who was on duty, noticed and used his gentle words support skill. Rintaro, who was camping the perimeter, saw the debuff and moved in to apply a verbal heal. When Kuroko runs a memory check on him, Rintaro sweats and admits his save file is corrupted, trying desperately to search his archives. She hits him with a reassure buff, claiming it's actually meta that he deleted that cache. She knows he doesn't just spam the kindness skill for anyone, it's a passive trait of his base class. But for her, that random support cast literally saved her run. Finally, she addresses the massive confession event. She pulls up his previous logs about their rival school factions causing a debuff. She tells him to completely disregard that lore. Their initial spawn point had nothing to do with their academies. Their first co-op session was in a neutral cake shop zone, where he transferred high-level courage and joy buffs she thought were permanently locked. With her blush graphics maxed out, Kuroko inputs the ultimate command. She accepts the romance route, fully dropping her own lore on how she started simping for him. Ever since unlocking that cake shop location, every time Kuroko queued up for a visit, she spent solid time in the character creator, maxing her makeup stats, equipping her highest tier outfits, and running the curl animation on her hair. She'd do a final mirror check before launching the mini expedition, her main objective always being to trigger another dialogue sequence with Rintaro. She grinded her rep so high she unlocked regular status, and all the NPC staff had her username memorized. One cycle, she queued up a takeout order instead of dining in. Her camera clipped Rintaro in the kitchen zone, and her hype meter instantly spiked, only to crash hard when she realized he wasn't staffing the register, meaning no chance to initiate chat. The consumable drops were always S tier, but her main quest was always trying to party up with Rintaro. Kyoko finished packing Kuroko's loot, and dropped a joke about her being dangerously close to 100% in the entire menu. Kuroko flashed her signature smile buff and left a 5-star review, prompting Kyoko to say the guild master would be thrilled with the feedback. Kuroko was totally stun-locked, so Kyoko pointed to the kitchen and dropped the heaviest lore. The head chef is her husband, and the low-level player assisting him is their son. She added the boy was currently running the high school freshman tutorial arc. Kuroko took massive shock damage, realizing her target was actually the admin's son, and they were the exact same character level. Realizing her staring animation was looping, she quickly aborted the interaction, promising to queue up again soon. She went home giddy from discovering who the blonde clerk really was, but now she found herself wondering what his first name might be. Driven to 100% his wiki page, Kuroko keeps spamming visits to the shop, but the RNG is trash and she never triggers an encounter. One night walking back from a healer visit, her hunger meter spikes for those specific cakes. She paths to the shop but realizes she's rocking her default skin. No makeup, no cute outfit. She figures the spawn rate for Rintaro is basically 0 anyway, so she risks the entry. Ritsuko greets her like a friendly NPC, asking if it's a takeout mission. But Kuroko decides to camp the lobby this time, claiming her stamina is critically low. She orders a massive feast and camps in the corner near the save point. Ritsuko loves the appetite, but gets aggroed by the kitchen staff and heads to the back. Kuroko is just vibing, enjoying the consumables and the cozy atmosphere. A flashback of Rintaro tries to render, but she cancels the animation to focus on the food buff. Right as she finishes the last bite, she glances at the register and gets jump-scared. Rintaro has spawned. She literally chokes on her cake in shock, and our MC rushes in with a water potion. She takes massive emotional damage because she finally met him while looking like a total noob and choking on food. Rintaro gives her the blank NPC stare with 0 recognition, so she rage quits the shop in pure embarrassment. She almost uninstalled the game right there, but that disastrous encounter actually reignited her motivation. She maxes out her charisma stats, full makeup, best gear. She returns to the dungeon the very next day. She confronts Ritsuko at the counter and nervously asks for the Rintaro summon, admitting she needs to see him. When he appears, she decides to unlock his entire lore and enter his world. She even offers to pay for his run. Next day at the school zone, Kuroko's INT stat is failing hard. Her mind keeps autoplaying the cutscene where Rintaro saved her from the mobs. She feels guilty he took damage and wonders when she can grind at the shop again. Trying to clear her cache, she opens the curtains for some sunlight, thinking the map is empty this early. But boom, she spots Rintaro in the enemy base. He panic closes his curtains, but the intel is secured. She slides to the floor, her happiness meter completely overflowing. Realizing he's a Chidori main means he's always within render distance. She knew right then the romance route was officially locked in. Back in the present, after dropping the lore, Kuroko steps into his hitbox. With max confidence, she runs the introduction script again, restarting their relationship like it's New Game Plus. She tells him the faction war is irrelevant and thanks him for opening up his inventory of feelings. Flashed a bright smile, she drops the "I love you" bomb and asks to officially party up. Rintaro buffers for a long moment before his character model finally moves. He remembers her waving from the tower and how she dragged his life out of the darkness and into the main quest. Standing face to face, they both equip smiles, ready to start the co-op campaign. Thanks for watching. That completes this season arc.